You're on.
All right, it's Monday, July 3rd at 9 o'clock. You're going to open the Tuftonboro Selectmen's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have no minutes. Public input. We have Mr. Ladd and Mr. Clifford here on the same issues of disposal of construction and debris. Fire away. Which one wants to go first?
He came in first.
Well, go ahead, sir.
We have a nice
I'll
letter
do
from
the backup.
Mr.
I'm
Ladd.
not that good.
I don't know why this has happened, but I'd like an explanation first. Then I would like to have an explanation why the short notices when nothing was posted anywhere, I was in the landfill on Tuesday and Wednesday with our small Toyota, with recycles, cardboard, mostly cardboard, because appliances are showing up in the cardboard. I brought them in. I didn't see any notices. Nobody mentioned anything. I spoke to Piper, a bunch of them there, dropping things off. Because he said, "Oh, that cardboard, don't worry about it. Throw it in the dumpster." I said, "Well, it's good cardboard." No, throw it in there. Okay. So that was that. Didn't see anything. Now, what we do is we have I've had two dumpster trails, probably over the last 15 years. The small one I took to Florida, have it down there. This other one is not a big one. You can reach up over the sides. I mean, it's not that tall. It's not very big. And we put that out back because it's convenient, as people have around. There's 60 different landowners or properties off Lanes End Road, which the town pays nothing for roads. The only thing we have from the town of Tuftonboro for our taxes, which I just paid last week, which is a sizable amount of money. The only thing we get is we get a police department. I get an excellent fire department. I love the guys. I keep my route plowed to my marina all winter long because Adam says I really need that day, for fire purposes. So I try to do everything I think that's appropriate for the town. This dump trailer sits back and getting close to the 4th. Not hearing anything on Tuesday or Wednesday. We had 3 picnic tables that were not safe. We broke them down. But underneath my contractor working on Lanes End's office, which is being rebuilt, the home and office was being built. He said, "Geez, Dave, I'd like to clean up in front because it's right behind the beach. Can I put some of the balance of that in the trailer?" He has hauled that one this last winter. Only we had Casella Waste. Didn't let them. Some town did not get all this. I paid Casella for 7 loads, $9,650. All of it could have been hauled to the town of Tuftonboro. It was not, because we put there was a 30-yard container there from August until April. At that point, he called me just before I came home from Florida, said, "Dave, can I use the Lanes End's dump trailer?" I said, "Sure." So he, in that time, hauled 8 loads with my trailer to the town, 200, 200, 200, 100, 100, 100, 100, 30, and 50, because at the end there, the 30 and the 50 says, "I want my trailer empty because I have Blue Ridge does all the cleanup, but I need it for when we clean up around the cottages." People in the cottages, they like to try to throw the stuff that shouldn't go into my dumpster. I pay for a dumpster, and this was Casella, about $480 a month for my rubbish. Tuftonboro has done nothing for me on rubbish since Fred Sargent reluctantly gave up his land to a landfill for the Tuftonboro town. And at that point, I was told there was 5 major businesses that brought rubbish to the dump. There was only 5 businesses. I'm still the oldest business, one of the oldest in Tuftonboro, since 1915. And we were told we couldn't bring our dump trucks anymore to Tuftonboro, to the landfill, because we always went and dumped. Oh, they didn't, the selectmen at that time, with their wise knowledge, did not make any provisions for those like Pack 2000, myself, Shore Acres, those of us that work the commercial businesses in Tuftonboro, Village General Store. No provision was made. So at that point, we had to commercially hire. And therefore, all this rubbish doesn't go to the town and use up some of the tax dollars that we pay. We worked with that. I had dump trucks still Then we switched over to these dump trailers because they're more convenient. We don't have to have a truck always insured and registered. It can be pulled by one of the everyday pickup trucks that we have on the grounds. I'm sorry to draw this all up, but I just want to give a little history if I can. Doesn't look like I'm holding up any big crowds, so.
Take it down.
Yeah, so basically, I went along with the whole deal. I objected back then. If they go back to records, they'll see where I objected, and I can't even remember who the selectmen were there, but I'm sure I've got records. I get complained all the time that I have too many records. And what happens is we use the dump trailers, but now that we pay Casella, Blue Ridge, and like that, our dump trailer probably in the summertime, lucky if it goes a couple times a summer. But in the springtime like this, where we do need it, when people have things around the cottages that they're disposing of, they try to put them into my rubbish only one, and we have to yank them back out. We have notes on there, rubbish only, it's on their lease. And then we put them in this trailer as they slowly build up a load. Then we bring them, rather than doing 4 or 5 loads in a pickup truck, which seems like you seem to want us to do. My basic complaint was we built this up just before the 4th of July. I was in the 2 days that were open at the beginning. Would I have brought it then if the notice was in? Yes, I would have brought the trailer then. Because I could have easily thrown my rubbish on top of this, because the trailer's only about 3/4 full. But when he got there, and Mike Grant, he's my contractor right now doing the work, he towed my trailer behind his truck. He has a sticker on his truck. He is a landowner, he pays taxes, and he got turned away. So now we got the trailer, and on that was these 3 broken tables from the people on cottages on top, picnic tables broken down on top. Now they're sitting down in my place, and what am I gonna do with them? You know, I mean, I got shut down by you people, but now I would like a reason from you people as to why did we do this?
Because we're running about a $25,000 a year deficit.
But why are we, okay now, Chip, you're a business person.
What did you do with the stuff that you couldn't dump?
It's still in the trailer.
Okay.
We thought that, you know, maybe he would have said, hey, Dave, you were in here earlier, you know, I go in right away, hey, Dave, you're a native, come on in here, don't worry about that, you know, all that. And I said, okay, fine. They treat me very well up there. But Mike he's a New Hampshire boy, but he's not David Ladd pulling it with David's truck. He's pulling my trailer with his truck, because he said, Dave, I really want to throw just some of the stuff in front of the office in there, and then I'll throw those picnic tables on top. Good enough. You go ahead and take it, Mike.
Okay, so you want, I don't know, Guy to pay additional taxes so that you can take construction debris?
No, wait a minute, wait a minute. I believe I should have brought it in with you. I believe I have one that says on it how much per truck and $110 or whatever. Do I not have something printed out by the town that says what the loads are and how much they cost?
Shouldn't be surprised.
So
Right.
why,
I have that. I mean, it's.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No, but wait a minute,
You missed
Chip,
it.
I understand you, but please.
No, let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we're running a $25,000 deficit.
Why are we running a Chip?
Because we're
Why?
not charging enough.
Well, is that my problem?
No.
Who's managing that cost?
Okay,
Chip,
the way we're solving the problem is you have a trailer full of C&D, drive 30 miles south and dump it.
yeah, but why do we have to drive when we're paying taxes for the dump there?
You're
We paid
paying
30 years of
taxes.
taxes to build all these storage
You are
rooms. We
paying
paid all the taxes
taxes
to build the tar.
for
We
your-
paid to all the equipment to be made there. We paid for all this. We paid our
You
permits
don't.
to build all, yes, we do.
No, you don't.
We do in the taxes.
We did build them.
you-
We
you
paid
did,
the
but
tax.
taxes money built all
Did you pay
that.
for those buildings up there?
Tax money built all that. You
Everyone
did.
paid for that.
No,
Exactly.
that's exactly.
Exactly.
And you know what? You
And
changed the
everyone
rules.
should be able to use it.
We did.
You know, but did you do it with proper notice, with poor judgment?
Well, fine, that's your
Oh,
opinion.
you can sit there and fat, dumb, and happy and say,
Well, you're fat, dumb, and happy as
You're
well.
damn right. I'm
But
not
the
fat,
po-
dumb, and happy. I'm upset.
Well, be upset.
You know what?
You're one
Poor,
person.
let me tell you something. Poor management, and I'm not saying
Fine.
poor management.
Fine.
Up your rich, we don't mind
Call it
paying
poor
more.
management,
Listen,
call it whatever you
paying
want.
taxes,
Okay, gentlemen.
We're paying
Yeah,
disposal.
I
Listen,
Mr. Chairman of this board and
Please,
running
I'm
the
sorry.
meeting, let's take a deep breath
That's
and
exactly-
calm down,
you're
or
exactly
you'll be
correct.
escorted out.
You're exactly right,
Now,
Dad.
if you really want to talk about this, let's
Yeah.
keep it
Yeah,
calm. You too.
My
You
daughter
can be
tells me.
escorted out as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter tells me that all the time. Dad.
All right,
Back
so
up, take a breath.
deep
You're absolutely
breath.
right.
And one person at a time talking if we can.
Okay,
All
Chip, you and I have hit bad heads many times, and I can appreciate that because I like the knowledge coming from you. But I don't understand the short, no, you know, if we can't control, if we know we should come in and nothing's been given us, all of a sudden it's shut off. It's maybe if you're given 2 weeks or something that would be a reasonable time. This was not reasonable. And now you're saying, oh, we're losing money. Hey, nobody can operate a business at a loss. I operate a business. I've been in business for 77 years, Chip. You know what? We're still in business. We're one of the oldest towns. We must be in business because we make money and we don't give things away. But at the same time, if I have a piece of paper from the town of Tuftonboro that gives these rates and says, and that's what my man paid here going in, 200 on some of those loads. Because you know what it said? Do you know what it says on that sheet? It says it's $110 or $100 a load, but if it's heaped up, it's 50% more. That's why he paid 200, 200, and 200. So it's not like, and did I try to take $9,600 of expense away from the town? And every month, 480 some odd dollars of my rubbish goes out, I pay for it. None of mine goes to the town. I'm one of the higher taxpayers for the businesses. You're saying, well, my taxpayers are paying for it. He's paying for it as a regular taxpayer. All of these people, you're paying for it. So aren't you? And the young lady sitting over there is paying it. But you know what? We still have to have reasonable time to know that if this changes, we need to know why there was a change. We're in here now, you're talking expense. Then you aren't charging enough. The other thing, the guy said to my man, is he said, the problem is they're coming in here with it from other areas. And you know what Mike said back to him? Aren't you seeing that they've got a sticker on their vehicle? And he had no answer.
Or a building permit number?
You know, yes, or a building permit not from Jack, which I've got. I had to pay that money. I paid to take all my stuff out. I only these loads here, and then I paid these loads. So if it should have been 200 for those other 100, 130 ones, then you know, it'll make it so that the town could afford to do that. But we've got all those containers up there. Now all you're saying, oh well, we'll cut down on the amount of work. A lot of those guys really don't want to work up there. I mean, nobody wants to work nowadays. There's only a few of us that really want to still work. I'm still working. I'm 80 years old, and I still go. You know, but I don't appreciate the town shortchanging me. All I want to do is get that out of my trailer, because now I have to haul some pea stone and other stuff. My trailer's full, and I can't use it. That's got nothing to do with the town and what I haul in it, but it does do with the town of what's in there, and I was not able to dump. And if they told us then, we're sorry the rate has changed, it's now $200 what I brought in, you know what? Teresa would have given a check for $200, not the 110, because it's only 3/4 full. But what you're charging for it, and what you're saying I can see if there's a loss on that. I wouldn't doubt it. I see some of them coming in there the way they're coming in with those. But that should be something done within is it Chris that's up there, I believe? Mm-hmm. Between the manager up there and you people here to make it either it works, but if you say no, we're going to cancel it completely, now I'm exiled with my trailer. The only thing I can haul in there right now is leaves and a little bit of brush. And yet, Blue Ridge does all that for me. You don't have to, I don't have to, I took in 2 loads myself. My manager, David Wiley, maintenance manager, he took in 2 loads. And that's the only thing we've hauled in there this year other than these loads that I mentioned.
Taxes.
And I'm paying a sizable tax. All I want to do is get treated fairly and know that I'm not, that when I show up, thinking that everything's okay, I'm not told on Wednesday, and he comes on 3 days later, and I'm shut down. I'm sorry, I just can't, I don't accept that. It's poor management. I've managed things all my life. You know, they thought I was good enough to be a company commander. I think I have a little bit of gray matter up there. And you know, I don't like being treated this way. And so that's why I'm here complaining. I'm not complaining, I want an understanding more than complaint. I mean, the complaining won't do me any good if nothing is done to explain why it happened or where we're going. That's all I can ask. This young man, you know, he's younger than I am. He's the guy probably got to earn a living all the time. I do. But I have,
Paid 27 years ago. 27 years of taxes.
My Donnie friend behind me. And you know, I know the town can't take the loss. I understand that. But how do we modify it so it works? Then only give passes to those that have the building permits or construction people, or let's give only us permits, that when we went with the guy, our trailer goes in there and say, it's gonna go in that, those are the dumpsters right there, you guys, I'm sorry, you gotta go 30 miles down the road. I would like to see if can something be done to work with us. That's what
Even
I'm
if we have to double the bill, we don't mind.
Well,
You know, our time,
I'm just saying, break even with the town, we don't mind, double what we pay. If that's what it takes to break even, we gotta do some math. and
you know,
work
the
this
saying
out.
to go, oh, drive 30 miles.
Yeah, 30 miles every
That's,
time,
each one of these contractors, or like myself, I'm paying a man so much per hour.
every time.
And that vehicle going, I didn't like it when Reg Colby, I go back to Union Wharf Road as the dump is in the 50s. Then I had Reg Colby. Then I had Fred Sargent, and I had Fred Sargent. We had a very good incident with Fred Sargent and Kenny LaSure. Fred, we know, was a little bit, Fred ran a wonderful dump. His daughter is my manager. And Kenny went in there, and Fred tried to give him, boss him around and threaten him. Kenny pulled the lever and dumped it, and drove out. Half an hour later, the selectman called me, and I said, yeah, I'm already, would you like to be on a conference call? He said, why is that, Dave? I said, because Bob Varney is on my phone right now. He's writing a paperwork to a threat against my employee by the time, well, let's work it out, Dave. And we did. We made both of them apologize to each other. And that resolved that problem. But I've always used the dumps. I've always been able to get rid of stuff until we became a landfill. Now we're getting more and more restrictive, so what the hell, what percentage of my taxes, down in Florida, I know, they put right on there, $365 for the rubbish pickup. You know, I know what I'm paying of my taxes for rubbish down there. I got 2 places, I don't even put any rubbish out. So I'm giving them $700 for nothing. You know, I mean, because the fact that they're my garages, there's no waste there. You know, there's no rubbish per se, there's
Per week.
nobody living there. But at this point, that's where I'm at. I'll yield to the other 2 gentlemen here as to what they want to say.
Well, I think we'll close discussion at the moment, because I think you've expressed their concerns more than
I
adequately.
have one real concern, that he doesn't mind me driving 30 miles each way to go to the dump 3 times a week and waste my time, my gas, my tires, my motor, my engine, my oil, my everything.
What about
It's
your
not a big deal, but
your
yes, I'm
customers?
paying for my dump for the last 27 years in my town
and
to have it
why
made.
are you going to the dump?
Because I'm fixing your resident's roof.
And
Your
I'm-
resident, without your resident's roof, you have no tax
okay,
money,
okay.
you have no house,
Okay.
you have no $11.8 million tax revenue,
Slow down.
and you have no $500,000
Wait,
tax.
wait. You've got a customer.
Your house.
Not
your
my
building.
house, you're not working on
Your
my
building,
house.
no, but your building, your town, your town's house.
I do my own roof.
You signed the permit for the materials to be in your town
okay.
through the thing. So you,
Okay.
by law, state law states anything in your town needs to be taken care of, anything used in your town. Look at your state law, let's get around the state law first.
Okay.
So the state law, you guys signed a permit saying that you take responsibility by letting them put it in your town. Through the permit, you signed off on. You did. So technically, the shingles are not mine, they're yours. You signed off on them.
Thank you.
Okay, technically, the shingles are the homeowners.
Right, but it's
You
the
took-
town in the
okay,
town.
Okay, wait. You took the shingles off someone's house.
So it's my fault, that's what they're touching?
No, you're a contractor,
Right.
okay, you charge them to dispose of them.
Right.
Okay, so they're the people who are paying the 30 miles.
They're also paying the town rubbish, and they're paying the permit for you guys to let them put that on the house, and they're paying taxes to use their dump. So once again, that's 3 different paying to you guys for you guys to say, go south. Okay, everybody's paying you guys, but you guys are the only ones not working. That's my problem. I've been here 27 years,
Okay.
and I don't mind paying extra
Do
to
you-
dump.
okay.
I don't mind paying extra.
Okay.
I don't. Up
Do
my
you
tax- up my rate.
charge your
I
customers?
charge 10% over what you guys charge,
Can
so
you-
it's still your fault for not
Okay,
charging
we haven't
enough.
charged you anything yet.
Yeah, you have, I got receipts from the dump,
You-
220 of every one, and
Okay.
in Wolfboro it's 180.
You-
In Wolfboro it's 180,
Okay.
Tuftonboro is 220 for the same trailer. But let's
Okay.
not go there, you're still in a $25,000 deficit.
So,
Okay, so let's
so
not go there.
$220 is what you're charging.
Right, and I don't mind paying 400.
load.
It is what it is, figure it out,
So if
figure it
you're-
out.
so
I'm
if
gonna
you're
build a homeowner.
Okay, wait. So you're saying you pay 400, you're just gonna have to make the homeowner pay that 400.
Instead of losing 3 hours to go south to Rochester with my truck and trailer 3
Okay.
times a week, you do the math. I'm gonna lose money going south with gas, hauling, tires, oil,
$200?
time. Yeah, easily, easily,
trip?
easily. You do with wear and tear on cars and vehicles, all my time, traffic, summertime, you think you just get there in a half hour, everything's easy?
Then hire a
It's not
dumpster.
easy, it's time and effort, sir.
Hire a
If you guys
dumpster.
don't have enough people,
Hire a dumpster.
why do I have to pay third time? I'm already paying for my dump. Why do we have to pay again?
We're-
You're making us pay, what you don't understand is you're charging the homeowner for the dump, you're charging us, the contractor, for the dump, when we go to dump the dump.
No, you're not gonna dump there.
Well, I don't understand why we can't dump there when we pay
Well,
for the
no,
dump.
you can't say we're charging and then,
You're charging, we paid $220 to dump a trailer, that's
yeah,
technically
but now you
charging.
don't have to pay the 220.
Because you're kicking me out, you're kicking me out, yeah, that's
So hire-
catch
hire-
22.
hire a dumpster.
That's a catch 22, Yeah, why am I hiring a dumpster when I paid my taxes
Because
to build the dump?
let's say-
We built the dump on my 25 years of taxes, did we not? Did we not build the dump on my 25 years of taxes?
The dump
Yes, we
continues.
did.
Yes,
to
we
have-
did, okay, well,
Yes,
all
we
I'm
did.
saying is, I'd like to use it, I would like to use it, please.
Okay.
Figure it out, charge me more, whatever you wanna do.
Well,
I
before
would
you
like to use
leave,
the dump.
please,
Please.
Eric,
Thank you.
before you leave,
Yes, sir.
come back in,
I will
please.
give you the respect, you heard me.
Come back in, please.
Yes, sir.
There's nothing to say that this current restriction is permanent, all right? And I've got to tell you that we are looking into solutions, okay? Now, but it can't happen quickly.
But for him to laugh about my time,
I
is
don't-
not funny.
I
That
am
is
not-
not funny
I'm
at
not
all.
He's not,
saying
he's not respectful at all.
That's not funny. I'm sorry about me
I'm
driving
sorry.
south 3, no,
I
it's not, you're not
can't-
sorry, I can tell, you got a smile on your face right
Okay,
now.
I can't
You're not sorry.
disagree.
I only wish I was voting in this town because my vote would have been for you.
Perfect. That's why we
Exactly.
have
And that's how I
votes.
feel.
All right, so I'm going to close the public input session of the meeting.
When, can I ask one more question? When will we hear about this, please?
I couldn't tell you that. It's going to take a lot of discussion and a lot of investigation on how to solve the problem.
That would be good, as long as it's done properly, yes.
We're going to work at it.
Right, guy.
And we're not ignoring it. We know it exists and we're trying. However, some of these solutions might have to go to town meeting before we can actually come up with a true workable solution.
Just to handle rubbish?
Yes. We have
No, just
capacity
handle
problems.
C&D.
This isn't just money. We have capacity problems that we have to deal with as well. For example, if we have full dumpsters of construction debris, we have to wait for someone, usually Waste Management, to come and haul them away.
That's correct.
Before we can do
I
it.
have the same
And
situation.
so we back up just exactly like the contractor would do. All right, it's just on a larger scale for the
Would
town.
you try to consider the fact that, that was a suggestion I made, the contractors in the town and those that take out their permits would get, just like they get a permit, they would be the only ones that would drop the volume? Just put it into the formula, please. Consider it.
Certainly be discussed when we have a full board, but we don't right at the
I
moment.
understand what,
So the-
Bob's not here, yeah.
I guess my question is what initiated this change? I may have missed it. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
he
The
came in.
transfer station being overwhelmed, basically.
Well, and we're running a
And the
$25,000
fact that we're not,
loss
that,
on C&D.
we gotta go back to this a long ways.
Yeah. I mean, a C&D currently is costing us $25,000 a year more than we're bringing in revenue. So one of the solutions that we talked about was having a commercial fee. In other words, you wanna be a commercial hauler into the Tufton Road transfer station with C&D, it's gonna cost you X number of dollars.
This could be implemented, again, when we have a full board and more
We
discussion.
talked about a
There we
scale,
go.
but now we're talking spending
Scale.
That's how they do it in Florida, they scale me out.
$175,000.
Yeah, that's too
So
much.
how do we sell that to the voter who doesn't have any C&D?
Who doesn't care, yeah, about the scale?
Yes, unfortunately,
That's true.
this is the issues we have. Not everyone has C&D or ever will.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a tough game, but we're not ignoring it. I gotta tell you, this is definitely gonna be talked about every meeting.
And we have allowed, we are allowing pickup truck loads, so if you wanna break up your trailer load into two pickup
You
truck
know,
loads.
that's the whole thing, I accumulate, and most of mine is not construction, mine is just the stuff around, you know, the kid throws away his little metal truck, that I can take that to the metal truck, down to the metal pile,
Mhm.
but, and the hot water heater I can take there, and I can take the propane tank over here, but the stuff like that, a picnic table is broken down, I can't burn it, because it's treated. So it's, you know, that news is, that's not construction waste, it's just normal, stuff around the cabins and around the property. And this is what that's why mine loads are very few to the town down.
Mhm.
Mine's different situation, I know.
Sure.
I know your major one is these contractors, but you see what I did, I told you, I've got the bills out in the truck.
Oh,
$9,650.
not disputing.
Casella, for having that 30-yard dumpster on my property all the time.
No argument.
I did not give the town that bill.
Right.
I paid it, but then afterwards, when it went away, I did pay your 200 like I told you.
Yes.
And I didn't mind, but I know you have to limit the amount, but I mean, still you gotta take care of us that still need to have, not construction waste. That, you're saying it's construction waste, but they won't let me put the rest of that any other place.
Right.
It only goes there.
It's either garbage or construction.
Yes.
Debris.
Well, I've actually researched this quite a bit through the New Hampshire Municipal Association.
Yeah.
And yes, that picnic table, for example, would not be construction debris, but it's considered hazardous material
That's correct.
and would go in with the construction debris,
Okay, right.
which is then taken care of.
That's true, I agree with you, but I had to, I had to get rid of it, to drive all the way, to take a pickup truck to take 3 picnic tables 30 miles away is not reasonable.
Well, I don't think you need to do that if you brought them in a pickup truck.
Well, okay, I'm gonna give you,
In a pickup.
I'm gonna give you a scenario, then I'm gonna get out of here, because I know I'm
Thank
taking too much
God.
of your time. I've got a little aluminum trailer that I haul my golf cart on.
Yes.
I'm gonna hook it behind the Toyota, and I'm gonna put the 3 picnic tables on that. That's not a dump trailer. If I load up that little non-dumping trailer and bring it in with construction waste, what's gonna happen? Can I bring it in? Am I gonna get turned away? I mean, it's not a dump trailer, it's a regular, a utility
I
trailer.
can't read the superintendent's mind, so I can't tell you what's going to happen.
Well, Chris, I'd probably get it.
However, if you would like, and I will make this is way beyond my, I'll go with you.
Okay,
Call me.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I will take it off the trailer, the trunk trailer, leave it there and put it on there. And then I'll try to convince Mr. Fillion, who owns the marina that he's buying from me, the service center, that he has 2 dumpsters. He has a recycle and he has another. I'll try to convince him that I can throw some of my stuff in his to get rid of the rest on the trailer.
Sounds reasonable. Thank you.
But,
All right, I'm gonna close.
but we're handling it.
All right, I'm closing public input at this time. Thanks for coming in and all your suggestions.
So
and
we will know that you will be working on this issue.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have to.
Well, I know you've been working on it for years as for contractors and that. That's been in the newspaper for years, but it's never been resolved.
We're after it. I'm telling you,
Thank you.
the wheels of government turn slowly. Next up is our police chief. Thank you for your patience, chief.
Thanks for being here.
We still haven't got anybody lined up for testing. They either have not responded or failed to show up, so we're still working at it. I didn't get the activity done I was working on it while I was waiting because I was out sick last week at the end of the month, so. But things are a little slower in a lot of areas, partly because we're short-staffed compared to last year. Last year we had 4 officers on, now we've got 3, so there's less exposure for us to get activity. I think accidents are about the same, car stops are down. Basically almost every area is down a little bit, but mostly it's because we're 3 versus 4. The cruiser, I've got 2 prices for upfitting the new cruiser. I think I want to have one of them look at it to make sure we're getting apples and apples comparisons so they're not disadvantaged, because they may have overlooked a few things.
Yep.
I haven't got a 3rd yet. I'm not sure where I'm gonna get that yet, but the other thing is the radio for that would have. So right now the radio is gonna take about 6 months to get here if we ordered it now. So what was kind of thought the best way to do it, I think by both, was do it and then swap the radio in. In other words, get it set up so it's ready to go and you just pop out the old, put in the new. So everything will be ready to go once that radio gets here. That's just, as far as transferring stuff over, there's only a few things we'll be able to transfer over, not much because of the age. But that's where that's at. Once I get a chance to go up, it's Osprey Mountain, I need to have them look at it to make sure they're on the same page, the other bidder, so that they know it's there, and so that are fair to them as to what they're expected. Because their quote, I had to have them change it once already, and I wanna make sure I wanna be fair to them. So anyway, when I get that, I'll send those to you, the 2 quotes. Even, most of them, supply chain wise is better than it was, but there's also scheduling issues. Most places are backed up, so to get it in, it's still gonna be, a few months to get it in, which is probably about the time the stuff will get here. So if we were to start it now, it would probably be October before they get the parts, so be able to do the outfit anyways. Estimating, depends on what's in stock where.
Right.
Other than that, we've done some, we have coming up some more school safety stuff going on as far as the security assessment for this school. We also helped with training of staff district-wide with Wolfboro and Ossipee and the sheriff's department. So there were a bunch of officers there to help out with that. We did that at Kingswood, just kind of show what to do for a variety of scenarios.
So Phil Bennett's coming in this
He's
morning?
right there.
Oh, good.
We have a parking permit application here that came through the police department somehow.
Interesting.
The tendency is to deny it. This person has 2 slips at Pier 19,
Yeah.
which entitles him to 2 parking spots at the store's lot.
Yeah.
He wants a permit to park his trailer, etc., in our big town lot at the end of the bay.
Yeah.
But he doesn't own property other than those 2 slips in
Is there
Tuftonboro.
anything else? No island?
No island property. He takes his boats from the 2 slips at Pier 19 to Moultonboro.
Huh.
So he owns property in Moultonboro? is
Yes.
it? Okay.
The tax collector brought this in to me. He's quite adamant that he should be able to park his trailer with a sticker in our big parking lot. The ordinance is a little vague.
Mm.
I don't know where that ordinance came from. Do you have anything to do with that ordinance?
Yeah, I helped to write it back, but it never went to town meeting to override some of the restrictions that were previously. There's some conflict with ordinances, so minor, nothing to do with this parking lot though.
Mm-hmm.
The parking lot is not part of an earlier ordinance.
So the
That's
question
voted
is,
down.
do we give this guy his sticker or do we deny it because he's not a taxpayer and
Well, he is,
property owner? He owns a slip. I don't know. He doesn't own any island property.
well, he owns 2 slips and they're,
Yep.
The
I
tax.
I guess
so that's probably $150,000.
they're attached to land that belongs to the town of Tuftonboro in some respect, right?
No, it's owned
No,
by,
it used to be.
Oh,
it's a
owned by
mess.
the Island Association.
No,
No.
no,
Pier 19?
Pier
Who owns it?
it's a condo dock association.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and Jackie could tell us how much pet tax they pay on each one of those.
Yes, you could.
And they do pay taxes,
Right.
so.
So what do we do with this permit?
Is he asking just for one?
He wants 1 permit and 1 sticker.
And this is for just the trailer?
So what he wants to do is be able to park his trailer up there and leave it.
Well, he has to have a vehicle attached to it.
Yeah.
That's where we came into the ordinance of reading it. To do that, you have to have a vehicle attached
Right.
to
The
it.
reason for
We're
that-
allowing that up at the transfer station.
If he wants to leave it for the season, he can leave it at the transfer station
Okay.
without attached. The reason
So-
behind that was so that we didn't have a storage lot for trailers.
I understand.
That's why, because it was messy, really awful at first, when I first got here, because there were trailers every which way. People without plates on them, or they'd take their tires off so they wouldn't get stolen, and it was, we had one stolen,
It's
It's
a
like-
junkyard.
it became a cluster, filling up the parking lot with a lot of trailers that wasn't necessary. But, I mean, he is a taxpayer, and I don't think it's cheap what they pay for taxes on those, not like a house lot,
No,
but it's still, they do
So the
pay
regulation is he has to leave his vehicle with
overnight.
the trailer attached if he wants to
Overnight.
leave it overnight.
Yeah,
if he
so
wants
like,
to
if he wants to
store
take a
it.
day trip,
Yep.
cool, but at night he's gotta come back and hitch it up.
I would think if he owns slips, he's only gonna use his trailer once to put the boat in and once to take it back out, and then it should go to a permanent storage facility.
I argued that when I wanted to just say no trailers there, that, you know, you have a boat on a trailer you store somewhere, put the boat in, put the trailer back wherever you stored the two of them together. But that was, a lot of people said no, and a lot of people don't wanna put it at the transfer station because what if their boat breaks down and then they need a trailer all of a sudden?
And then
It's not open.
What ifs?
It takes the towing vehicle and pick it up.
Well, if the gate's locked, you can't.
Oh,
But that's the what ifs.
What are we gonna do about this is the question. The girls in the office don't wanna be responsible for saying yes or no. And I don't blame
I
them, they
thought
don't
we were
wanna.
coming up with a solution of, you can park at the big lot with his vehicle attached, or he can store his trailer at the transfer station.
Well, that would be the solution,
I think so.
alright?
Yeah.
I have a phone number here, we can give them a jingle, we can
And
give
if it's
them a
only
check
one,
back.
it's not as bad as some of the other people that want like 3 or 4 for all their visitors.
Right.
We've run into that as well, island people
Yeah.
who come in and get permits for all the people that may be out there, which is 4 or 5 at a time, who knows?
They have a limit, but then they play this, like if there's multiple owners that
Right.
to the property, it gets to be messy.
So when they're renting out their properties, one solution would be that they have a parking pass. They give that to the people when they rent it, you know?
That's what they are, they're hang tags. So
Yes, but that should be
that's how they should have.
part of the rental, not everybody gets a parking permit.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll deal with this fellow, then I'll give him a jingle. All right,
So
go ahead.
have you figured out, you and Dennis are all set on police coverage?
So I think we don't have anybody from our department that can do it. So we're gonna be at, I think the way to do it, and it's worked in the past, was to have the duty officer there.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they have an emergency, they leave. If it's something that waits, it waits. And then like Dennis asked, well, what happens if there's an emergency while that officer's away? Well, you call 911, you call dispatch. And
Yeah,
then somebody else will have to come or they'll have to,
and I guess that's the break point for me. The officer that's there that has to leave needs to arrange through dispatch. Dennis is not in the police business.
well, I mean, the point is, somebody has to call if there's an emergency there. If there's an
Right. But I think if the officer has to leave, he needs to notify somebody. It shouldn't be on Dennis's shoulders.
okay,
I mean, he's not in the police business,
I understand that.
so I think it's not a perfect solution that you've come up with, and we need to make it a perfect
Yes.
solution.
There's probably no perfect, because if there's something really super serious, they're gonna leave, you know?
Right, but if they're gonna leave, then they need to notify somebody in the police business
Well,
that
let
they're
dispatch
not there
know,
anymore.
but I mean, the point is, we don't know if, who's gonna notify that there's something that needs attention there? Somebody there.
Well, obviously, if something bad happens, but,
That's what,
you know, if something bad happened in my house, I'd call 911.
right,
But the point I'm trying to make is that we're looking for police coverage at those concerts. If you think you can't do it, then you need to arrange for duty or some other kind of coverage there.
well, no, I think we can do it, because it's not, usually Thursday nights aren't super crazy busy, I mean, but there might be something that comes up, and he may have to,
Right.
that officer may have to
Well, let
leave.
me see if I could get this through my head. Officer Jones is down there at the concert. Call comes in. He has to leave. He gets that call through dispatch.
Yeah,
All right, and he says to dispatch, all right, Officer Jones responding, however, whatever the protocol is, requesting backup at 19 Mile Beach. Or how coverage, can somebody come? I don't know.
I don't think,
It's like if Dennis calling 911 and saying our police officer had to leave. All right, there was an emergency, but it wasn't at the concert.
Right.
So Dennis really doesn't have an emergency, he has a lack of police coverage.
Right.
I know where you're coming from too. This is a sticky wicket.
and the other problem with that is, the only way to do that is to have somebody assigned there, right? The only way to do that is gonna be, and this is where it's gonna kick into Dennis, is you know, it's gonna be probably somebody from an outside agency covering it.
Yes,
And it's gonna be probably more expensive than what he was banking on.
that's all
Well,
right.
he's not gonna have to bank on anything.
Right.
The reason you can't cover the concerts is that you're short-staffed,
Yeah,
which in essence gives you a $63,000 pot to.
but this is a
dip in.
special event, this isn't,
No, this is the selectmen telling you we want police coverage at the concerts. This is no different than the elections. We don't tell you where to patrol, although I'd love to. We don't tell you when your hours have to be, but we can tell you we want certain police coverage at certain events. And we have told you we want coverage at these concerts. That's all I'm saying, and that's a police function.
we'll see what we can do, but that should come out of the Parks and Rec budget, not
Why?
mine. Because that's a special event.
They're not.
Just like if, former Pine Cone, they decided they have a
Correction.
concert there and they
Right.
said, we need police coverage there.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be from my budget, that
No.
would be a special, but they would pay
You'd
for it,
charge for them.
right?
Right.
And same like
But
it's
this is the
Parks and
town
Rec.
of Tuftonboro for
I
which
get that, but whose budget does it come out of?
it
It
comes
should-
out of your budget. Because this is a function that the town of Tuftonboro is putting on, and you're the town of Tufton
But
Police.
it's an event they're putting on.
It's not a separate, company.
It's a separate subsection, yes, and it's funded. They,
It's, Parks and Rec does not have a police funding line.
but they have an events
You
rotating
have,
account.
you have an officer line that you can't fill, so you're now sitting on $63,000 for the year, I'm gonna guess, because this is your rate of travel. What are you gonna do with that money?
Turn it back to the town.
Yeah, and we're asking you to cover the concerts with the police officer you don't have. And that's gonna come out of that money. Why wouldn't that make sense?
Because it's not an event sponsored by, this is a special event. It should be paid and part of the budget of doing that kind of a thing.
That's your position, but elections are special events, and we don't have a special police budget for that. Do we? I don't think we did. I don't ever remember one.
No, but that's not exactly the same. We're mandated by law to set those, have elections. It's
Okay.
different than electing, if you choose to host something.
Okay,
you-
bike training, bike day, or whatever it is. down
Bicycle
here.
rodeo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bike rodeo. That's a school function.
It's
You
kind of a
charge the
police
school?
function too,
How's it a police function?
because we host that, we help work with that.
Okay, so you're part of that.
But it's not, it's also, we haven't really put in much for overtime on that. We haven't.
I'm sure you haven't. And
But that's the government Wentworth Regional School District, not the town of Tuftonboro that
Right.
does
I
it.
understand that.
right.
Well, anyway,
I mean, so you're gonna turn back your $63,000, which I'll wait and see if that actually happens at the end of the year. And Dennis is gonna be over on his budget by, let's say, $8,000. And that's okay?
I think if you set up an event and you need to, I mean, there are expenses when you run an event, right? He
Right.
pays a band, he
Right.
gets sponsors. I think that's all part of that,
Mm-hmm.
kind of that budget you have to set up for it, right? I understand what you're saying, but I think if they, and where it becomes a problem, well, never mind.
at the end of the year, we're probably gonna have to scratch some money out of budgets here and there
Yeah,
to try to make up for deficits.
I understand that.
Just be advised, it may come out of yours.
I understand that.
That's all,
I
that's all I'm gonna say about
Yeah,
it.
But, I
just-
mean, they have a rotating fund though, don't they?
Yeah,
Revolving fund,
yeah,
and that's what that's about, is you put money in to cover your costs of running events,
right.
and that's what that's all, and fees you charge
Right.
or sponsorships go into that revolving account to cover that, so it's not really out of their budget, it should be out of that revolving account. That's where it should be budgeted, just like if they did a road race and they needed to get permits from the state and do detail officers for that, or whatever they need, it would come out of that revolving account, not out of their operating budget. Because this is, that's how I think it should be run, but out of that
Okay.
revolving account for them.
Let's leave the money aside.
Yeah,
I don't want Dennis to be in the police business. So I'm not ready to say, it's okay, call somebody for a detail, cause our police can't cover it.
No, we'll call somebody for a detail. If you mandated that nobody can leave there, somebody has to be there, which may not happen even if there is a detail officer there, because if something serious, like the shooting like Canaan happens, they're gonna leave. No matter what, they're gonna leave. If it's more serious, we get a fatal accident, we have the roads blocked off and traffic's jammed, they're gonna leave. Even if it's another agency, they may leave for it, because we only have one officer on, and if something demands more, they're gonna leave.
No doubt.
And that's
No doubt.
my point. How many officers? We don't have a spare officers. Even we have 4, really. So I mean, if you want to mandate somebody be at all this stuff all the time, no matter what, they either got to come from out of town, or we got to have more officers. I mean, that's my thought. Is the officer that's there, because it's normally not an issue. It has not been an issue in the past when we did it. I mean, I did them when I was working some Thursday nights. I'd cover them. I had like an accident that took real quick, took care of it, came back. You know, it's not, I mean, the what ifs, what if we need to have something else? What if we have something else we need an officer to cover? We don't have enough officers for that, and we never will, to cover every permutation. of
We have as
possibility.
many what ifs as you do,
Yeah.
and they're not always the same what ifs.
Right.
And I do understand, if a man can go away for 10 or 15 minutes and come back, most likely that will be satisfactory. Okay, I say most likely. Usually, and I have been to these concerts, as soon as the police officer leaves, I don't see people breaking out drinks and okay. So,
That was my thoughts. They don't seem
But-
to have, we've never had any real issues at them either.
right, but we
Other
can't
than-
have Dennis
I understand
in
that.
charge of that, so we're
I
gonna
understand that.
put it on your shoulders,
I understand that.
narrow as they
But,
are.
but my point was, I guess I wasn't putting Dennis in the business of finding detail officers. What I was getting at was, do we really need to have a second officer to cover that, or can the duty officer cover that? And that saves Dennis money, because in my opinion, that's where it should be coming from, that rotating account. Or do we mandate a second officer? If that's the case, then it's gonna be more than our detail rate, 'cause ours isn't as high as a lot of these other places. But anyway.
Okay, those are 2 different subjects. One, I don't care if you agree with me about the budget number or not, doesn't matter, because it's not your decision to make. The other one though, the more important one is, I agree with you, we don't probably need somebody there all the time. We need to at least have made the effort to have people have police coverage at those events. Because whether or not something has happened in the past is no determiner of what might happen in the future. And I just don't want something bad to happen at those concerts and have no accountable person there. So even if it's just notifying dispatch that there's an event.
Well, that's what would happen, is if the dispatch called them with an emergency, they'd say, okay, I'll clear there and I'll be heading to that call.
Right, and that's fine, just as long as the dispatch knows it's an event,
Yeah.
so that if they do get a
Like I
911.
said, that's what we've done in the past. Prior to last year, we had the duty officer go to that event, hang out there, and it was not I mean, I think I got called away once for an accident.
Right.
It was like I
Right.
took care of it. So that's my point, is I don't think we need to call in, how we pay for it, I don't care, but I don't think you need to call in a detail for it.
Okay,
That was my point of it. I wasn't getting into the whole money part of it. I
and
was
that's
going to-
your decision to make, because you're our chief of police.
But I wasn't getting Dennis into whether or not, well, you're the ones who said we need somebody there, that's why I brought it to your
Okay,
attention.
we can say we want somebody at the event.
Yeah,
It's your province to manage that. That's all I'm getting at.
well, I guess the difference
So
is,
if you wanna say, okay, if the guy gets called away, and I'm fine with all of that,
yeah,
we don't decide those things, you do.
well, it does, if you say you have to have somebody there no matter what, then I have to have somebody else there dedicated to that. That's my point.
Okay, and maybe that was where it was confusing. What I heard from Dennis, and I'm not gonna belabor this, but what I heard from Dennis was that he was gonna be responsible.
No,
And that's not
No.
what we do. I mean, you're the
No.
police chief.
no, I mean, if, my point, and that's why I sent the memo to you, was that I don't think we need to hire a detail officer. The duty officer can hang out there during the concert, it's only an hour and a half right?
Right.
2 hours.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
and if they have to leave, they have to leave for something more, for an emergency. They're not gonna go for a, you know, non-emergency call, you know. I need a VIN verification. No, you don't need a VIN verification right now. You know, but they'll come right back there. That was my point. It wasn't Dennis was getting coverage. But if we have to have coverage, we have to, we'll have to bring somebody from outside of town to do it. And that's all. But I wanna make sure that that's okay with you, that the duty officer, if not, I'm gonna have to,
Okay, we're all on the same page, I think.
okay,
Yep.
so that's okay then, if the duty officer hangs out there.
Right.
And lets dispatch know, hey, I got it, you know, well, dispatch is gonna be telling them about the emergency anyway, so.
Right.
Exactly.
It wasn't for
Sounds
Dennis to get coverage, that wasn't what it was about.
All right,
Okay.
good.
It was,
Alright,
it
good,
was
good.
about whether or not we needed to have a second officer dedicated just to there. I know in the past we did it, and we didn't have any problems, and it's not like we're gonna abandon it, you know what I mean, we're gonna,
Right.
if something happens, we'll get back as soon as we can and deal with the paperwork
good.
later.
All right, so, anything else for the chief?
Only other thing is, along the same lines, Camp Belknap, they've had one day of, there's an orientation for new campers, so it was like a pick up and drop. It was a drop off and pick up the same day, but parents were still there. And they had no problems with traffic then. That was one that wasn't on our schedule because we didn't know about it till like the day beforehand. So they kind of forgot to tell us about that. But I did make sure the officer, when I found out about it, checked it, there was no issues. Last Sunday was drop off day. I was there, there were no issues. I had told them they needed detail because you folks had said they needed detail, somebody be close by. I'm not sure if that's, based on what I saw Sunday, I don't know that that's necessary, but that's.
Are they still going through the field?
Yeah, they're going through the field, they're weaving through the field, and then they have somebody there with a radio, and they have other people with radios to make sure that they're not backed up. And what they do from the field is almost everybody goes into the main camp entrance further down, and that's where they check in further, and then from there they go to either cadets or seniors, or they stay right there for their things. So it didn't, at least on the drop off, it wasn't an issue. But
So it's sounding like they're attempting to alleviate traffic problems on Chase
absolutely,
Road.
they've got
They're making an effort.
They've got one person at the end of the road, one person at the laundromat, a few people in the field, one at the end of the field to make sure they're not letting people out, one at each of the entrances, maybe not at the seniors entrance, but because those are people that have been there several years, so they know where it is, they don't need to know to turn in here. But it seems like, what I saw, there was no backup other than like one time somebody stopped, is this the right entrance? And there was another car that came in after them, that was going in the same spot, so. That's what I saw anyway. So they have made I think a pretty concerted effort to make sure they're not blocking the road at all.
So what's your suggestion?
I haven't said anything because I suggested to them, I told them they needed to have somebody, and then of course I made them sign a form agreeing that they would pay for the person, whoever it was, and I told them it would probably be outside the department for a lot of it. I would have to go back to them and say, do you really want, because part of the suggestion I think from you folks was the concern of the bail issue and the person that was pending, because they had concerns.
And the traffic on.
Chase Point, but
Chase
part of that
Point.
was also, I thought, was somebody's close by if there is an issue.
Right.
And obviously this is weekends, different than Thursday night. We're busy on weekends. That day when I was out there, I could tell you the duty officer would not have had a chance to go there if there was a problem. He was out straight all day. He didn't even get a chance to eat. So, on one side, I would suggest that we don't need it. On the other side, I know it's weekends, so that duty officer is gonna be busy. They're not gonna be able to go help out if there's a problem.
Maybe a sit down with Seth is the thing to do and figure out how he saw it work. I mean, you were down there.
Yeah.
If there are issues that you think.
Well, they didn't want anybody anyways. They thought they had it under control. We were the ones who kind of said, no, we think you need somebody anyways. So I imagine that's gonna be his answer, but I haven't talked to him since.
Well,
Please
if
do
he
that.
keeps it under control, I guess
Yeah,
that's fine.
that would be great. It'd be
Yeah.
wonderful if they could do that.
Yeah.
And let's hope they can.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, talk with him,
Yeah.
see what you think, get a
I
feel.
just wanna get your feelings on that before I approach them, because I didn't wanna,
I don't wanna tie up, personally, I don't wanna tie up a police officer if it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Now, why would we wanna do that? That doesn't make any sense. However, if they're incapable of policing it themselves, then I don't suppose we have much choice.
okay.
And just keep an eye on Union Wharf parking,
Yes,
because I don't think the ambulance could have gotten through there this weekend.
okay,
I think there's a truck beyond the parking sign out. It was
okay.
there most of Saturday, I didn't see him there
Well, there's a
Sunday.
new fence up and some of the signs aren't,
Right,
it's
it
kind
just seemed like, I mean, I'm looking at it thinking, Jesus, I don't
I
think
didn't go down through
the
the
fire
street.
department can get through there, so.
So,
Alright,
alright.
so
Perfect.
next up is Phil Bennett.
You wanna stay for that,
Yeah.
chief?
Well, I was just.
Welcome to. Go. Sorry to keep you waiting, Phil, we got tied up with public input. No worries. Public outrage.
Output.
What brings you here?
I was asked to come.
Right.
Oh.
We responded to the floor drains
Yes.
and we're,
There's also the amendments to the, I think that needed to be addressed, right? Amendments to the addendums, the questions that were asked. I don't know, I thought that's what this was about.
right, you'd sent us those questions and I thought we went through them last week. and
We did.
And then all of a sudden there's return conversation. I don't wanna have email conversations. It doesn't do, it's not good for time.
Right.
So I think we had decided against floor drains
We had.
and,
The addendum had already gone out,
Okay.
and further to that, the program called for floor drains. So we can certainly take them out
yeah,
if and when somebody's selected to move forward. We can take them out. The issue is in the garage specifically. There is the eye wash emergency shower. So you could pitch the floor all the way, but I think it would be better if it had a drain there anyway for that one particular space.
well, a shower drain and a floor drain are two different things in my mind,
Right, well, in a bathroom, it could be the same thing.
right?
And that's how we're treating it, because the state DES, we've checked with the DES, and they won't require an oil gas separation chamber and a containment tank that needs to get pumped, as long as there's no oil or gas or contaminants stored in the garages, and there's no maintenance and washing done in the garages. So the floor drains ideally would have been be able to wash, but understood that the introduction of the gas and oil separator and the containment tank is an ongoing cost that you
Right.
don't really want to deal with. But the primary thing for the floor drains was that if somebody comes in to the Sally Port and vomits or whatever, things like that, or somebody has a contaminant on them that needs to be washed off in the shower. Something happens in the garages, the floors can be cleaned. Having those there would have been a bonus for being able to wash the cars, but if they can't do that, it doesn't remove the need for some degree of drainage in there. So that's why we left it in. Having said that, if and when the project goes forward, if we need to
Yeah,
change
let's-
order it out, it's still
Okay,
a
but it's
possibility.
already in, so we'll have to have the discussion once we award the bid, I guess.
Right.
I mean, I'm still not convinced that having floor drains is a good idea, but I'll have to think about it. What are you thinking, Guy?
Well, an eye wash station, as we know, is basically a couple of sprinkler heads pointing up, etc. The water has to go somewhere after it hits your eyes. That could be a fiberglass deep sink tub right under the station, for example, which would then go right into the sewage or septic system. Not necessarily a floor drain, but if you've got a shower that has to be done, that's a lot more water and you really can't work that way.
But that would go into the septic system. I was
Right.
just thinking of
I
floor
know.
drains where the cars are, I mean,
Well, and we have Bob's concern, which he has mentioned, is that sooner or later sand is gonna go in that drain somehow. Whether that be from sweeping, washing the floors, any number of ways. At some point in time, do we have a clog problem with it? No one would know when that would happen. Without having a regular floor drain, we don't know. So, again, I think Phil's suggestion that we could change order it when the time is okay. It wouldn't be a major thing. I don't believe it would be major, let's put it that way. It'd have to be done though. Soon, when concrete's poured, we'd have to have the piping in place and everything to go, right?
Oh, right, the change
You
order.
can't add it afterwards. It's not-
Right. The change, if it was change ordered out, it would be before they even get
Yeah.
anywhere near
Anywhere
the,
near
putting in
close.
subsurface drainage.
Right.
I'm guessing it would be something before they even get on site, because there's gonna, hopefully we won't be going through a value engineering process, but I'd be surprised if we aren't.
Right.
And certainly, at that point, there's a number of things that we can use to our advantage, so to speak.
Well, not washing vehicles inside definitely helps limit the amount of contaminants of any kind that would go in a floor drain, as we know.
Right.
It does help a lot. But then again, there's always foot traffic, waffle stopper boots.
But it's still gonna
Pick up
melt in the
the
winter too.
Snow will melt, there's no doubt.
Ice chunks will melt, fall and melt
Sure.
off.
But will that actually go in the floor drain? Will it evaporate before it gets, we don't know. You're always gonna carry contaminants into a salad port. It may not be, poisonous to touch, but some kind of a contaminant is gonna come in there no matter what. Your tire's gonna pick up dirt, everything's gonna happen. We know that. That's just, everybody's house is that way, believe me, this weather, we know. Tracking money.
and you don't use your garages currently, so it isn't, I mean, place yourself in the new facility, are you gonna have oil, or you're not gonna change your own oil, are you? I mean, you never have, or haven't recently.
I wouldn't put that responsibility on a police officer myself.
We don't change the oil, but we have
Oil.
spare oil in case we need to top it off.
Right,
And we do have a flammable cabinets.
and just like
Flammable liquids
the
cabinet.
washer fluid, windshield washer fluid.
We have windshield washer
Yeah.
fluid, we have like a quarter two of oil in case we need to top it off.
Right.
You know, we have had some coolants before, when we've had one that was dropping a little bit.
And is it your expectation that you'd wash the cruisers in there, or would you still go to the car wash?
Well, personally, I prefer to be able to wash them there, but I understand if I can't.
No, I mean, you can.
Well,
You
we
just have
can
to
if it's-
accommodate for it.
Yeah, if we put the oil gas separator in the containment tank.
Right.
And if we don't put those in, then we have to wash them outside, right?
Right.
Which is doable too.
Pitch the floor and sweep the water out.
But I mean, yeah, except in winter time, obviously, we'd have to.
I mean, we're obviously gonna have to configure the floor differently. At the moment, the drains are centered under what would be the parking area,
Right,
and it pitches in those directions.
right.
And also it pitches down
So,
from where the shower
I
is.
guess, again, can we at least rinse the floor off if they're out the doors without drains?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like washing a floor in any, kitchen or something that has a
I
floor
mean,
drain.
the only time that really kicks in that we can't wash them, obviously, and it doesn't matter. The advantage of having a garage that we can actually use is that winter time we can wash the cars and they'll won't freeze on us.
Right.
So I mean, we
I
don't
mean,
need
I
to
took all
wash
the
them
floor
inside.
drains out of the dealership.
Yeah, I understand
And-
why.
And you can still wash the floor, but
Yeah.
everything that's
You gotta squeeze it out.
contaminant, you have to pick up.
Yeah,
So if you spill oil, you have
Yeah.
speedy dry and
yeah.
Yeah.
a red
Or the
bucket.
mats,
Yeah,
or the pig
Yeah.
mats, what do you call
yeah,
them?
and a place to put it, so you're not just throwing it in the trash.
Yeah.
'Cause it's,
And certainly moving, if you wanted to take out the floor drains, one of those drains could still be put in at the shower, emergency
Right.
shower location. So it's certainly something that can be addressed.
right.
I just didn't want to hold up. I've got another RFI that's going to go out today. I didn't know whether you'd wanted to look at that before it went out.
I think if there's gonna be a question, we probably should look at it.
Well, that's what I thought this was about, was the latest thing that you had, questions that came up last week from Page, was it? I don't know.
Yeah, it was a list of Bonapage and a couple of the people have been phoning direct. So I'm just adding them to the list so everybody gets the answer. I only got one copy here.
Do you want us to make copies? Kim, can you make?
Yep.
It's right here.
I don't.
Sorry to run behind here, we had a long public input session.
I don't think there's anything in that that's just as contentious, for lack of a better word, as the floor drains. They're all
And the
basic.
liquidated damages is fine. We established that last meeting. Did you get that one?
I did not put that in
Okay.
the RFI. So, yeah, I haven't sent that one out, so I can address that.
Okay.
Um,
Because we wanted to make sure the language stayed in that they can petition the selectmen for
A waiver.
a waiver. I don't know how it's worded.
Circumstances beyond everyone's control are bound to happen. Earthquake, hurricane, tornado, volcanic eruption.
And if they're working every day and it takes them a few more days to finish, I'm okay.
I'm not gonna panic
If
about that.
they haven't been working every day, then.
We got another issue.
So the RFI, the addendum will confirm that liquidated damage is staying in, but there will be a method to
Ask for a waiver.
ask for a waiver.
Right, or
Uh,
whatever, petition for a waiver.
Like if, where the liquidated damage, if they go beyond the scope, of the, like time-wise or whatever,
Right, so we're gonna have a build,
get this weather like this, that might,
well, hopefully they're gonna be, by the time we get to the liquidated damages, they'll have a roof over their
Yeah.
head, so it won't be as much of an issue.
Bill's original one.
Thanks.
Sorry, guy.
It's all right.
So you needed hydraulic cement for what purpose?
It's the joints in the foundation, in the slabs, and in the ceiling, the joints between the foundation wall and the footing. It's not something that most people would even pick up at this stage, but this one particular bidder.
Just paying attention.
Paying attention.
I saw, last week a contractor was out there with a shovel to see what the soils were, stopped by.
Mhm.
He said, it sounds like all three are interested in bidding still. Cause he said he has to propose a price for the three of them.
All right. Yeah, I don't anticipate any of the three are gonna back out. Martini suggested that they didn't want to do the cost plus, but I think they want the work.
Anyway, he was poking a shovel in, looking to see what the soils were around, beyond just where the test pit was.
On question 6, is that just a typo? There does not appear to be been any door elevations.
E missing.
I'm sorry, I don't know if that's a term.
B.
To be, right.
Does not appear to be.
Okay.
Good. Seems like these questions have been adequately answered to me. That folks have done their homework and looking over it.
So we don't need to have, we're on plywood walls in the garage.
Plywood finish
So we don't have to do the sheet rock for
below
plywood.
the sheetrock.
Okay. So it's plywood and then sheet rock.
No, sheetrock and then plywood.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because to get a durable finish.
Yeah,
So you don't stave it up all the time.
but we still have a fire rating.
Yeah, 30-minute rating.
And the same with the ceilings?
Correct.
The ceilings are just flat, right? They're like this. Well, they're not textured, I hope.
No. The majority of the ceilings are suspended ceilings.
Okay.
It's just the processing area, garage, a couple small closets or sheetrock instead, and the mechanical room.
So this is Bonnet Page's, or this is all of them, Martini, Northern, and Bonnet.
Right. That's who it gets copied to. Any one person asks a question, we have to give the same answer to everybody. So whether it comes in by phone
So
or
were there
email.
any other questions, or is this a?
No, anytime somebody emails me direct or calls or whatever, even the question about the backer for the carpet, nobody actually questioned it. It was the supplier said, "Do you want to have this EcoWorks backer on the carpet?" Yeah, sure. So I just wanted to make sure that they were obviously pricing it for one of the bidders, but I didn't know who, so I wanted to make sure they all got the same information.
And when is this due to end?
The
Friday, right? It was a
Friday?
week from Friday.
week Friday. Yeah,
A week from Friday.
right, the questions, all questions have to be in by Friday, and then the bids are back on the following Friday.
So it'll be the
16th?
16th?
14th.
14th. 14th, yeah.
And then you're gonna get it to us by the 26th?
4th.
24th is when I thought you were
I'm in June, I'm in June, I'm sorry,
July.
yeah. By the 24th.
So Phil gets them the 14th, well, everybody gets them the 14th, right? Or you're gonna review it?
Yeah, they'll come here.
I mean, I can put them in
Right, but
out so
Phil's
when you
gonna
guys
be-
come to sign the following week, you can see them.
Phil's gonna need
Thursday
to
or
go
Friday.
over 'em.
Well, I'll go over them, and I also have to forward them to USDA, because until they
Right.
approve it, we can't move forward.
Right,
But yeah, I'll go over them and do a report of comparison, make sure that they all are providing what they're supposed to as best we can.
right.
And give that back to you, forward all of that onto USDA, and hopefully we can be ready for as soon as USDA say, go ahead.
So we can't really award until USDA's signed off.
Not really.
Okay. But at least we'll have, if we have 3 bids, we'll know 3 different numbers for the total project, and we can start working on the math too.
And I did confirm with USDA, it has to, it's lowest reasonable bid, so I don't think you'll have, unless one of the bidders, for some reason, totally spaces it, I don't think you'll be able to rule one out for not being an adequate bid, so it's gonna end up being the lowest bid.
Yeah, and they won't allow us to walk away from the lowest bid. Unless there's some,
It says reasonable.
Well,
Who judges reasonable?
Yeah. I think you'd have to have a really good reason why I can't think of a good reason.
Past experience with the contractor? Or bad experience?
They wouldn't have, they shouldn't have been pre-qualified if that were the case.
okay, yeah, and they're all financially capable, so it's
Right.
not as if we're,
Well, there's a bridge we'll come to eventually. right today it isn't here yet, so.
No.
And when you do all this, has this gone out yet? No, it hasn't.
This one hasn't, 3 hasn't.
But you send them all to USDA for them to review too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they
That's
all
what I
have
thought.
they get copied on everything, basically.
Great.
Has that been on every one?
What did you find, chief?
Town of
Town
Berlin.
Ron.
Oh,
Yeah, we're not.
Driven
Yeah,
us
we
there.
don't really need to go to
I don't
Berlin
think
for
Berlin's a town. I think they're actually a
The
city.
city, yeah.
City, I changed the town. I didn't. I could have sworn I changed it.
Good.
Alright, so the next time we'll see Phil is when we talk about the bids, I think. That would
Right.
be-
They'll come here. Supposed to have an official opening. I honestly haven't been a party to one of those before, so I don't know if there's anything different. They have to be open, a public forum.
Right,
So,
sure.
So how do you review them ahead of time if they're not open?
We haven't
No, no.
awarded,
Oh,
so we award at another public meeting,
So you open them at one public meeting
right?
and then you award them at a second public meeting. Yeah,
So is that public meeting gonna be the one on the 24th?
Well,
should I-
there's 2
What are
public
they-
meetings.
They're due.
Right, but to,
The one where we open would be on the 14th or whatever
Right.
Monday is after that.
Well, you don't have a meeting though, do you? On the
No.
17th? No, yeah, 17th, you don't have a meeting. I think that's where Cammy was going with that.
We can have.
and I don't have enough time to get it in a paper.
oh,
I think you need to have it in the paper.
don't think it has to be advertised.
Oh, okay.
Well, you do have, I mean, you've got no, you can notice it today, so you've got plenty of time,
10 business days, or 10 days.
right?
Okay, so,
But we need to get them to fill as soon as possible so you can get them out to USDA. So do we wanna meet at, is this the 17th we're looking at? Or
So,
you would be looking at having a meeting on the 17th, yes, if they're coming in on the 14th.
and is,
it's,
or we can meet, well, no, they've got till 5 o'clock on the 14th, right? I was gonna say.
I think I don't think it was 5. I think it was 3. I'll double check.
I mean, it's up to you guy, I guess, whether you wanna meet on Friday late or you wanna meet on Monday when we don't have a scheduled meeting.
I personally would prefer to meet on Monday when we don't have a scheduled meeting. I think that fits into Bob's schedule better as well.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I don't care either way.
We can call a meeting, so, yeah, it's fine. And works for me to meet on the Monday the 17th,
Yeah.
9 a.m.
So that gives Cammy plenty of notice.
Yep.
We can, she could put it in the paper this week if she wanted to, but. next
No,
week,
that cutoff was Friday, so it's not gonna be in the paper until the
12th.
13th. It's a Thursday paper.
Okay, the 13th,
Yep.
yeah, that's fine,
Do it.
yeah. So that will be the official opening of the bids for the police station.
Right,
what time?
9 o'clock.
Why not?
Oh, why not? Excitement levels are building.
Getting closer.
Okay.
Okay, Phil will keep track of all of these
Right.
issues. So we know. I mean, obviously, if there's a value engineering process that we're gonna have to go through, then we'll need to know what's the best place to start. What-
Right.
Well, you'll know probably
What
Monday
items?
morning, right? That 14th.
You'll know whether we need to do it. Yeah, it's just a question of who are we doing it with.
Yeah,
And that I wouldn't think you'd do that till you've awarded it.
right, but we need to have the discussion beforehand, I
Right.
think, just so that we've got
Another idea, I guess.
strategically going. Cause we'll know the numbers on the 17th when we open. And hopefully
Alright.
that all works.
Okay.
Great.
Unless you have something else for us?
No,
Okay, good. Sorry to have to make you travel so, but,
no, I'm actually getting another job in Tuftonboro
oh,
for the FinCom meeting, so
great.
here anyway.
Drive fast. Thank you very much.
No problem.
All right, next up we have Steve Piggio from our Conservation Commission. We're gonna talk about map 32-2-5, which is actually, I had that paper here too, what did I do with it? We've had a proposal that the town might purchase a piece of property up near the transfer station. I had that proposal in my hand here, and there you go. Not doing well. And we thought we would bring Steve in to talk about it. He's very aware of what the property is and the possible benefits to us protecting the Great Meadow and how we might go about doing this, whether it be through some grant money or other. What do you think?
Well, I think anything we add to the Great Meadow, especially that piece, would be great. And I think it
Okay.
would probably also put a lot of control in that pond that's down the end into the town's end.
Is the pond on this piece or part of the pond or what's?
Yes,
what's
it was
going
on the map we saw the other day when we came in.
Yeah, I remember the map, I just don't remember the pond.
Don't know what I did with it.
No. It's down there. It's down at the very end of the property. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Right, it actually abuts to the property that we already own. So
okay.
the fence runs just along the side of the pond. And we own on this side of the fence and the pond is on the other side of the fence.
Okay.
So the actual June 13th letter says, based on our conversation from June 5th, we're interested at this time in offering the town the back 15 plus or minus acres of our property on Mountain Road next to Sergeant Crossing Road. Currently in discussions with a contractor who wants to purchase the pit and will give you, the town, first refusal on the 15 plus or minus mentioned portion of land. They're asking $65,000 and are prepared to give us 60 days to come to a decision as of June 13th. Now,
And that's 60 days to accept the offer, I hope they understand, because we're not gonna have any money until next year.
I'm presuming that's what that they would do that, but I think we might want to talk to
Yeah.
Mr. Carlton about that. And if we were going to apply for grants of any kind or whatever, that's going to take time as well. That's not
Grant
gonna-
would take, the ARM fund grant just closed, so we wouldn't even be able to apply until next year for the ARM funds. And LCHIP closes, might have been this week. So even that one we couldn't get, but between the two of them, we'd probably be able to get 100% funding for it.
So we probably need to speak with Mr. Carlton and see if it's going to be acceptable that we inform him the funding wouldn't be available at the earliest until sometime next year, because we'd have to do.
Well, even if we went with a warrant article
Right.
and then supplemented the
Right.
warrant with those.
It wouldn't
grants.
happen until after town meeting.
Right, it would have to be after town meeting,
All right,
so.
that's what we need to know. guess.
Yeah, and I
Told
think
us.
even still, if we purchase land and then we wanted to put an easement on it, we can get some of the back through grant funding for the easement.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Mhm.
So the town would own
Own the property.
the property and then sell the easement to the Conservation Commission?
No, to like a third party, the conservation, it could be like to Lakes Region Conservation Trust or Moose
Oh.
Mountain
Okay,
Greenway, they can
Right.
get funding
Yeah.
for it. And that would all have to be done through an appraisal, right? So no matter what he gets for it, the appraisal would be what you could get for the
Right,
funding.
so, and he hasn't closed on this property, he hadn't,
No.
last I heard.
No.
So we would be getting a first right of refusal to buy the bottom 15 acres. So it may be that the purchaser would be fine with it taking a year. I don't know.
that's what it said would, and the purchaser will give us the first right of refusal.
Yeah, we just need to have a time frame that
Right.
first rate extends to.
extends to. So, I'm thinking we bring Bob in on this as well, and we make a hard and fast decision
Yeah,
next week what we want to do.
yeah,
And
but it's,
it's sounding like if they're willing to wait that long, we'll probably pull this off. And again, as you say, it kind of gives the town a lot more control over what's going on.
right,
And,
We have all control over that whole area.
right. So let's bring Bob up to speed with this next week,
yeah,
and we'll make a
Sounds good.
decision, and then we can get a hold of Mr. Carlton, and he can refer us, if necessary, to the possible purchaser, and we'll work with the whole group and try to see if they're acceptable, because we just don't have the funding, as we know right at the moment, and we won't be able to, but till at least town meeting. So, good. Sounds great. I appreciate you coming in, Steve.
No
And
problem. I'm sorry, Chip.
I've been in talks with a couple of different individuals who might be interested in being the secretary for the Conservation Commission.
I kind of got a backdoor letter from Elena.
Alana?
Alana.
Right,
She has somebody, but it went to Steve, and Steve just copied on it, so I haven't heard from her directly yet,
yeah, I
so.
think the question was, what's it like to go to a meeting? So I think what they're looking to do is come in
A public meeting,
and,
so.
right, and
Observe.
see if it's something they'd be interested in.
It's,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we can utilize the same person for the budget committee as well.
That would be perfect.
And,
Yeah, well, I, as the Conservation Commission representative from the Selectmen, I can say it's quite congenial to meet with the Conservation Commission. It won't be
yeah.
anything real, it's not contentious at all, so that helps.
Here,
Right, no,
because
not
that's
like,
the other place that we need to,
we need someone to take minutes here.
right.
So I think you're looking for like 5 hours a week, is that what I read that?
I think that's how it works out. Is it 5 hours a week?
I thought that, I just got it copied from a
Yeah.
letter from Steve.
Yeah, you don't meet every,
We meet every third Monday,
right,
but in between, the secretary used to put the draft agenda together and do the minutes, and I don't know how long that takes.
okay.
So, I have X amount of dollars in my budget that we put aside for administrative assistant, so certainly,
How did you come up with that number, do you remember?
I don't, it was like 2 hours a week, I think, or 2.5 hours a week.
Was it? Let's do that.
But, we're not using any of it right now because I've been the secretary, so
Right,
certainly we have some extra funding for the rest of this year, and then we could put in a new amount for next year if you wanted.
conservation, here we go. So the budget for administrative assistant was $2,800, which is about $110 a week, which is about five hours, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's your budget.
Yep.
Um,
So certainly it's there, and, there are plenty of things to do.
Right, yeah, there's plenty of stuff to do, I mean, I think, well, we need to have decide they wanna do it, and then we can sit down.
That's first, yeah.
Flesh it out.
That's first, I agree, Chip, yes, that's number
I
one.
think looking at the way things were budgeted, that looks to be about what it was, 5 hours. a week.
5 hours a week, that's what I read too, yeah.
And I think some years, they have used the secretary more, at least 5 hours, but you had projects going on, grants.
Well, certainly there are things that we could use a secretary for that we're not using them for now.
Right,
We've really left that up to the assistant, how much work they want to put into it. I could certainly find enough things for that person to do for 5 hours a week. I don't think that's the issue. It's been more of how much that person has wanted to do.
right.
Okay, let's say we got that, go ahead.
Just a couple other things, the Williams/Horn lot, we applied for both the ARM funding and LCHIP grant to purchase that lot. So the LCHIP grant looks pretty good because they like working with us. The ARM funding is kind of questionable because they're requiring it all to be reconstructive for this, restorative for this round of grant funding. And the only problem with the property is the way they lumbered it, and they don't normally consider lumbering restorative. But Rick Vanderpool went to their meeting a couple weeks ago, and he's got them kind of to agree to it. So it looks pretty good that we'd be able to get 100% funding for that.
Good.
For that Horner Williams/Horner lot.
Right.
And where's that lot?
Old Woods Road.
Old
At the
Woods
very end of Old Woods Road.
Okay.
Which we're trying to protect because prevent that development to go down further.
Right. I heard the French lot might be going up. I don't know if that's of any interest to you guys.
I don't even know where that one is.
That's off of Dame Road. It's
Off of
about
Dame Road.
290 acres.
Wow.
Um,
One of the things that we're really challenged with when we do these is that we can only go as high as the appraised value. And,
Right.
and these values are kind of crazy these days. So, you know, what LCHIP and I'm look at as appraised value aren't the same as what an owner looks at as the real estate.
Market values,
Right.
wild.
But
You
just
know,
remember
we're
that most of these pieces are in current use. So taking them out of current use can be really expensive.
Well, yeah, because I'm working on that lot off Lane Pond Road, which is 13 acres, most of it which is in current use, and it would cost them $160,000 to take it out of current use. So, but, you know, he said to me the other day, look, I can get 1.6 million for the lot, so $160,000 is nothing. He said, my father paid $350,000 for it.
So it's got a significant amount of lake frontage, is that what?
Yeah, it's got 2,100 feet of lake frontage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what we're dealing with.
And you're not gonna get all of them, and
I
Oh,
know.
no.
You gotta try though, Chip, you know, you gotta try.
Hey, if you're batting above 500, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Probably join the Red Sox.
We thought we had it nailed down when we had somebody who was gonna buy 3 acres, keep the other 10 acres, and then we'd be able to get enough grant funding for it, but then that person fell through, and so now he's looking at putting the whole thing up for sale. Of course, it's a lot more attractive. You get 1.6 million in one chunk then.
but you can only take the house lot out at a time of current use. It's in current use now.
Yeah.
So was he splitting it up? Is that how he's getting this 1.6 or?
Well, no, he had the real estate come in and appraise it as a single lot, it was worth 1.6, and then whoever buys it would have to deal with it. Or he could split it up into 3 lots. I think you can have, it's a dirt driveway, so I think you can have 3 houses on a dirt driveway. I think that's what Jack told me. So he could split it up conceivably as is into 3 lots and pay the $160,000 on the 3 lots.
Yeah. So then it's additional income for the town, so we don't get a piece of conservation land, but we do get a little extra money.
Well, yeah, it's not a total loss by any means. But
Yeah, so,
it would have been nice to be able to grab it
yeah.
as it is, but
Protect the shorefront, but
nothing is guaranteed, so
Potter Appleton lot,
yes.
that's that little wedge of land on 109 that goes from Mirror Lake down to the 109 bridge.
Oh, right.
So we finally got all the title and all that garbage cleared up with that, and they're looking for a closing on the 14th. I haven't been one of them, so I don't know what the requirement on our end for that is. It's coming out of conservation fund money, so there's no,
Okay, you still need to create a deed though, or they're gonna create the deed.
yeah. Well, our attorney, we're working with our attorney.
Okay. Yeah, and Jack Whitmer has to
You're right,
weigh into that.
right, I know that, I have to,
Hi there.
It's gonna become town property,
yes.
so then we have to do it after you do it. To take it. So you won't be getting a conservation easement,
No,
because it's just gonna strictly owned by the town.
strictly owned by the town. I mean, really, we're just trying to prevent another one of those little houses from going up on the side of the creek and give us access to that land.
Yeah, you may wanna put, I mean, I'm just talking I mean, we do sell town property from time to time,
Yes, we do.
and if we wanna avoid some
Put an
future,
easement on it, right?
yeah, some future board selling that piece, we might
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
easement on it.
Well, I have been talking actually to the Mirror Lake Protection Association about maybe taking an easement on that, but that would protect that piece of property.
Can they do that?
Yeah. They're looking at that property, and then there's somebody also on Mirror Lake Drive that has a couple lots that they want, that's in current use, no, it's not, that they wanna put in, they wanna protect it for future, so that it never gets built on, so we're looking at those two as well.
All right.
And the last thing is the Great Meadow, the final piece of that easement is they're just getting ready to finalize that, I guess, and again, first time going through that, I don't know what the procedure is for that, so we would be granting an easement to Moose Mountain. I just wanna they haven't set a date for that or anything yet. I just wanna make sure, cause I know there's sometimes
So-
public hearings involved, and I
Right.
just wanna make sure we don't get trapped on the end saying, ugh,
So currently it's owned by
The
the town
town.
of Tufton,
yes,
and we're granting an easement.
to Moose
So
Mountain.
we need to create the easement through your conservation attorney. And then I think we need to have a public hearing.
Okay, so the easement, they've got the draft easement, I've been working with our town attorney. They got the draft easement all done and ready to go, but again, the grantor is a town, so I don't know what the process for that is.
Yeah, the town has to sign as well as the grantee. But we need to have a public hearing, I'm pretty sure we always have.
Right.
Alerting the public that we're granting an easement that's gonna constrict the use of the property that
Okay,
the town owns. But also doesn't allow, I mean, the town would end up not only being able to sell it with the easement in place.
Right.
So we've taken a town asset out of the market for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
And changed its value.
Yeah, right. And that's a big piece of property. It's not,
22 acres.
right, yeah, that's good size. Okay,
But it's integral, and that's the other thing, you
Right.
need to be there for that public hearing, because it's integral to your Great Meadow plan.
right.
Right,
And also to explain that the town can't hold a conservation easement. It has to go.
well, we can, but we can't own the property and hold the easement,
Right,
It's
maybe,
gotta go to a
Can't
third
do
party.
right.
right. Great,
And that's where we got some of the funding, so that's why I didn't know if we needed another public hearing, because when we first went to apply this, we laid all this out, and that Moose Mountain was gonna be taking the easement on it.
I think we still need to have a public hearing.
I'm fine with that, I just wanna make
in
sure.
order to grant the easement.
Right, you have to notify the public that we're granting an easement. We told them we were gonna, but
Right.
that's not really good
Yeah.
enough.
Okay,
It's
Yeah.
that we are
We have to
doing-
officially do it.
We gotta do it,
and at what time do we do that?
yeah,
Before, so we could do that anytime and then just be ready to grant the easement?
right, we have to have the agreement with both parties, with us and Moose Mountain, and the easement, so we can present that to the public.
Okay,
And then, there's no money changing hands.
No.
That's already happened.
yeah, so we've already paid for it and they've already given us the money back. So now it's just them getting the money from L-CHIP to reimburse their
Right, so
funds.
so you just have to keep track of their time constraints, and when do they need it for L-chip to be satisfied?
Yeah, so I have the draft easement right now that, it's fine. It's pretty much what the town attorney wanted, and what L-CHIP requires. So that's all done. And they just contacted me and said, okay, are you guys ready to move forward? And I said, well, I'm gonna go to the Selectmen because I don't know what the process is, so.
I think, I don't know, we'd have to have somebody look up the time constraints, but I think you have to notice this public hearing 2 weeks out or a week out, whatever.
10 days.
Do you remember, Cam?
Yeah, and I need 10 days to get it, to advertise it, but I need a week to let her know. So the cutoff date's Friday for the following Thursday.
That's to notice
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, we,
And you can't just notice that it's gonna happen tomorrow. They have to,
Correct.
it has to, what, 10 days?
Yeah.
So.
so do we wanna schedule like for your, whatever the end of the month meeting is? That gives you, that should give you plenty of time, or even the first one in August.
For the 24th meeting. So
Yeah.
you're actually having a meeting every Monday this month.
Well, the one on the 17th is gonna be pretty short.
Right.
That's just opening the bids and saying hallelujah.
You bring you up to speed on that, Selectmen's updates, Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, it's up to you, Chair. Do you wanna have a public hearing that day, or do you wanna wait till the next? Or do you wanna skip the next one and do everything on the 17th?
I'm fine with doing everything on the 17th. I don't know how Bob feels about that. We had scheduled the meeting to open the bids because we'll have them on the 17th and move this thing ahead at 9 o'clock. If that doesn't fit your schedule.
I could make that work.
Okay. So why don't we do that?
Why is August 7th red?
I have no idea.
Doesn't seem
What's it say in fine print under there at August 7th?
Canada's civic holiday.
Oh, it's Canada Day. Do we take that?
I have a small Canadian heritage.
Well, I like to go to Canada.
Right. All right, so why don't we schedule that public hearing for the 17th? And we'll go from there, so.
I'm still not sure that's enough time, but I will try to do that.
Actually, you're gonna have two public hearings,
Right,
so you can notice them exactly the same time.
right. It only gives the public 3 days notice. That's my issue.
Because you can't get it in the paper fast enough.
It will not go in the paper until the 13th.
Then they don't have 10 days notice.
Correct.
Then we'll have to do it on the 24th. There's no way out of that. And we'll have 4 meetings.
If you don't think that the public needs 10 days for the bids to be open, that one's fine. But this one,
Yeah, no,
The
it's
bids
not
being opened isn't a public hearing.
well,
It's a
I have
public
to-
meeting.
yeah. Oh, it's a public meeting, right?
Yes.
But the bids being open was only on the 17th was because we need to get them to USDA.
Right.
So we've got some time constraints there.
so for this public hearing, I think I need till the 24th.
All right. Let's do that then.
good,
If anything changes, we'll let you know, Steve.
sounds good, guys. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You talking about the Carlton property?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll bring you up to speed during Selectmen's update.
Have a good day, guys. Stay dry.
Yes. All right, Dave Jeffers, household hazardous waste. We all have it.
Yeah. Are we back into the waste business? That hasn't been good for me today for some reason.
This may be a little less contentious.
I hope so.
I hope so. I thank you for making time on the schedule for me. I wanted to bring you up to speed. You probably are already aware of where things stand with this year's household hazardous waste collection. We've had a couple of changes this year, and we're adapting. And I also want to ask you for some input. It's actually continuing a conversation, building on a conversation that was had a year and a half or 2 ago, where there was some discussion about the possibility of an HHW site here in Tuftonburg. So there have been 2 changes for this year's collection. One has to do with what's referred to as universal waste. That is normally we run our household hazardous waste collections for the region, and we have in the past collected in addition to the hazardous wastes, the pesticides, the old gas, the really nasty stuff, whatever you may have in your home. In addition to that, there have been collections at most of the sites of fluorescent light bulbs, compact fluorescents, thermostats, and other mercury-containing devices. Pardon me. That was always a bit of an add-on and collected by a separate vendor. It's referred to as universal waste. Actually, transfer stations are allowed to handle and collect that most of the time, and they can have a separate vendor come through and pick it up. And most of that is already collected at Owen and rechargeable batteries. Most of that's already collected at the Tuftonboro transfer station.
You said they're allowed to collect that most of the time.
Well, they're collected.
What times wouldn't they be allowed to?
They can collect it throughout the year. They can collect it throughout the year. I misspoke by saying most of the time. There are some communities that in the region that choose not to collect that for their residents for whatever reason, and those residents have to find another way of getting rid of it. And most of them end up bringing it to our collections, and our collections, you may be familiar with them. We run a collection one morning event on the last Saturday in July, and one morning event on the first Saturday in August. For each of them, we have had 4 sites open, and folks from residents and taxpayers from the 24 communities that participate can bring their waste to whatever site on whatever date is most convenient to them, up to 10 gallons or 50 pounds per household. And so some people have brought in, light bulbs or rechargeable batteries or whatnot. We reached out to, then there is a state contract that covers that. It's called the state lamps recycling contract. And we have used them, and they have that contract they assign it to, or they bid it out to a company for a couple of years at a time. And we use that contract. And I think most places operate under, hey, collect it, and when you have, as you probably do, when a container is full, or either you schedule it for regular pickups, or you do it when a container is full and they swing by and pick it up. You can use other companies. You don't have to use the state contract. We have been using the state contract, and we reached out to the company that is under that contract. They said, we don't want to do it. We don't want to do it this year with you guys. Please take us off the list. Oh, well, we contacted DES, and it's through the administrative services. Basically, it wasn't working out for us. And so this year, we are not collecting universal waste at our HHW collections. We are, and that has been about 4% of the HHW funding that you provide to us. So we're going to be returning that 4% to each of the participating municipalities. It doesn't amount to a huge amount, but it is what it is. And you guys are in a fortunate, Tuftonboro's in a fortunate position in that you already do take it throughout the year. That's the first thing. The second thing is, we have been collecting for years at different sites, as I mentioned. The nearest sites to Tuftonboro have been Molten Borough Neck, and over in Ossipee. Ossipee came to us and told us, and again, people from different communities can come to those sites. Ossipee told us, hey, we prefer to take this year off. We don't want to do it this year. We think that we're committing too many resources to it, and we've got other things going on at the site, which is behind their it's their town highway garage. It's a pretty good site. You get traffic flowing through there. We get about roughly 200 vehicles coming through there in a 3.5 hour time period. And typically at that Ossipee site, there'll be people from Ossipee, Effingham, Tamworth, Freedom, Tuftonboro. Those are the main communities that go to there. We thought we had a site set up to be able to do it at the Effingham Elementary School, where they had stepped up and been able to do it during the pandemic. And we submitted a proposal to do it there again this year, and there were concerns expressed, and so we were denied that option. We have been working with our vendor, Tredebi Environmental, and they said, hey, we can do the regular 7 collections, 4 in July, 3 in August, but the one that we'll set up one especially in the eastern region for like October. So we'll honor our contract with you, but do a collection there. And that gives us a little time to find a backup site. We have reapplied we are looking into the Effingham School for that October collection, but I am currently coming out to communities asking for alternative sites to host a collection in early October. And I had talked with the board, as I said, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I think, Skip, you were part of that discussion, and wondering if there might be opportunities to host a collection here. Two sites that were discussed were, we discussed the possibility of the elementary school, and that really wasn't.
Since we don't own it.
Right, right, and it would be through the SAU and stuff. And there were concerns about, gee, is that really the best place? And it was determined that probably isn't the best place. 2 other options that were discussed were the town transfer station, but there were concerns about holding that on a Saturday when all the rest of Tuftonboro is coming through there. Physically, it's a great spot. There's a wonderful flow, far better than some other transfer stations I've seen. And there has been some greater openness, at least from LRPC's standpoint, to saying, well, we'll consider the possibility of maybe doing it on a midweek day when there's not the regular flow there, on a day when it's not normally open. that might be a possibility. We also talked about the possibility of the fire station. There are some concerns about the fact that there's not a
It's not a
second-
natural
there's
flow.
there's not a second exit, or not an exit to it other than, and there was discussion about, well, maybe we could put people up to the field, have them enter into the field and then come out. And that might work. Certainly it'd be great on a day when it's not pouring rain. If it's pouring rain, then that poses a challenge.
But that's gonna be a challenge anywhere.
Yeah, well, anywhere that you don't have paved road.
Right.
And you don't have, I don't believe that there's a paved connection between, a solid connection.
There's nothing.
Is there any, if we were to host it, is there anything that we would have to do other than just host it, provide the piece of property?
It's providing the piece of property. It's usually, the handling of the materials is done by our contractor, Tredebi. There is some traffic control and some taking of surveys that are done. They're often done by volunteers. Some communities choose to have some staff participate and do some of that work. And with there being, 4 or other communities that typically are involved, we're really pushing to have a good deal of volunteer presence. It's nice to have a
For like
local
traffic control, parking.
Yeah, for those roles, if you choose to say it is done at the transfer station, if you choose, you may collect used oil and take that from folks, and typically that's best done by a staff, local staff, if that's something that you want to, and you can use that in your waste burner if
we had one.
If you have one. And I believe that we have that. No, okay, then you probably wouldn't want to do that. Some communities do have that, so that probably would make it actually a good deal simpler.
Well, I can see that the transfer station, especially with traffic flow, could work out. The best of 3 discussed locations, obviously we can't do it at the school, but if the reception area was near a metal pile, for example, it's down and away from the building where people are bringing the normal trash and the compactors, that's a possibility. There's some areas there, but we certainly have to discuss this with our transfer station superintendent.
Yeah.
And see what his feelings are.
Yep.
Because he's running the joint.
Yep.
Let's put it that way.
I appreciate
It would be,
Yeah.
and
I want it to be a conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the pushback when we discussed it before was the summertime.
Yep.
And summertime at the transfer station.
there was a zoo on Saturday when I went.
So
Yeah.
October might be a good potential.
I mean, the time that we don't want it to be, we were given 2 options by Tredebi when they might have staffing for it. And if it were a weekend, if it were a Saturday thing, they're talking about like the 7th and the 28th. I'm not crazy about the 28th in terms of it being too late in October, and I know that snow can happen.
Oh,
And I prefer earlier for a couple of reasons, but part of that, but it is the Columbus Day weekend, so that has its pros and its cons. We want participation, but and so one needs and these two sites that we're talking about, you know, there may be others that I'm not aware of that, you know, we're looking at. Ideally, they're municipal properties, those are the simplest. They need to have pavement, cause the company needs to set up on pavement. And there needs to be sufficient traffic flow capacity that over a 3-hour period you can handle a couple hundred vehicles. You know, there may be 25 to 30 cars in line on a push time. And we don't know, we've never done it in the fall. It's frankly opening up an additional opportunity for people to dispose of this. And I need to reiterate that folks can folks from Tuftonboro can still go to the Molten Borough site, which some people still do.
Right.
But so I just want to have a conversation. If there's, I'm going to be having conversations with others. I'll be touching base with Tamworth about the possibility of holding it there. It has been suggested that I might reach out to the Carroll County Complex, whether that might be a possibility.
Here's our facilities manager right there.
I'm the facilities guy at the county complex.
Oh, okay.
So, I think as long as the commissioners who are amenable to it, I'm sure we could.
Because there could be some traffic flow through there, if it could be workable.
That'd be easy enough to be arranged.
Oh.
If you wanted to consider that, I'd say you can bring it forward.
Okay. Okay.
Actually, I'd prefer that you brought that forward
Okay.
and let Tuftonboro off the hook.
Okay.
But we will discuss that with our transfer station superintendent as
Okay.
well, for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. What would be the best way what would you recommend me doing for? Making that
Talk to Melissa Siemens at the county complex, 539-7751.
539-7751.
Talk to Melissa.
Okay.
Get on the agenda with the commissioners.
Okay.
Present your case and
Okay.
go from there.
That's good. All right.
There you go.
Okay.
Excellent.
That's what I have. Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, moving on.
Have a fabulous 4th.
Do our best.
Be safe.
I did.
Okay, the signature file today.
Well, I don't have one with me today. But yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
Thanks, Dave.
All right.
The signature file today basically requires the chairman of the Board of Selectmen to verify that this document has been read and reviewed. What it is the recommendations from our annual safety inspection, and each building in town, each facility, recommendations, items that have been mitigated, etc. For example, I'll use the transfer station right away. Damage to concrete sides where the dumpsters are placed still needs repair. Chris hopes to include it in next year's budget. Water quality was tested, but the results have yet to be received. Openings in the roof of the Quonset hut need to be filled with insulation. And then it has a spot for items to be mitigated. I have to sign every page. We have a Melbourne Wharf, dirt section needs complete revamp. Town Wharf, revamp needed. We know that. Okay, all this stuff. So if you guys want to look through this before I do any signing,
I'll make a motion
Please
that the
do.
chair sign.
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
And you have a chance to look at that's the whole signature file.
That's it?
Yep.
But this is this is JLMC, right? Right.
Yes. All my signatures indicate that we've seen it.
Yeah, these 3 items here don't appear to be safety items. They're just
Well,
they're maintenance items.
No, I'm not gonna dispute that with the Joint Law Safety Committee at this time, since there's no one here to speak.
Yeah, it's the only committee that we have
Right, that would do anything of this
that
nature.
does any recommendations.
A lot of it, there's no recommendations.
Right.
So, this one, this office building, the trash in the basement appears to be from the telephone installation. So, I'm gonna sign all these, but I'm gonna wait to do that until after the meeting, so we can move right along. In action items, we have a letter from Audrey L. Fraser accepting our invitation to become our new town administrative assistant. And we need to vote to hire her.
I'll make a motion that we hire Audrey
Fraser.
Frazier to be our new administrator / administrative secretary.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We have a note from the American Legion asking us if we're gonna give them their $1,500 donation this year, because they've already put the flags out. I spoke with Kathy about that. We just haven't sent it yet.
Oh,
We're all set, she will send it.
we did vote that.
Yes, oh yes, absolutely. This is part of our patriotic purposes budget. That was action items. Correspondence. We have an updated report from Chris Rule at the transfer station. The information that he was unable to get to us last week, I've looked it over. I had it enlarged big enough so we can see it. If I read those numbers right, and I may be wrong when we get down to the bottom at C and D, I think we've actually made it into the plus column, but I could be misreading it.
I don't think so.
Okay, I misread it.
Well, excuse me. I'm just looking, I'll have to run the numbers, but I'll
Right,
do that. I mean, it
feel
looks like,
free to.
it looks like it cost 73,000, he took in 31,000. But he's got 29,000 costs, so I gotta add.
That's where I'm getting confused,
Yeah,
I guess.
alright.
Okay, so all of our correspondence is from the transfer station. All the employees have met and are up to speed on the closing of the gate and how that works. The inside of the gate will be closed at 4:15, and the exit side will be open until closing time. And this is so people that are already in there can get back out. And it has, correlates to the fact that a woman ran into the gate the other day when it was down. Also, he's advised us he's been in contact with, I have to find this person's name, the Fairbanks Scales Company. I'd like to get a representative out there and meet with him and us, looking for a convenient time to meet with us to talk about scales, locations, etc. And I can certainly accommodate them at any time. Bob obviously has county obligations, but I think we should talk with Chris and see what we can do just to make something that's
So they're
amenable to
gonna come
everybody.
to
the transfer station.
To
yeah.
the transfer station.
Right. And then the idea would be that they can come up with something that can be presented to us, not necessarily for approval, but maybe possibly for at least inclusion as to formulate a warrant article if we decide to go that route. And that's all our correspondence today. So, we move on to citizens' updates. I'd like to lead off. Kathy has asked me to reiterate or verify once again that we approve of her donating her accumulated sick time to the catastrophic leave fund. That would be 70.822 hours for a total of $2,100. We had told her, I believe, we had said that would be perfectly acceptable. She'd just like to make sure that we're still on board with that.
I don't have a problem with it.
And
No,
that would raise the catastrophic leave bank totals from $9,178.70 to $11,300. $372.05, and I think she should be commended for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think
It's fine.
It's fine. It was use it or lose it. I think
Right.
that's the best place for it.
So, all right, I'll just let her know that that's okay to do that. Bob, bringing you up to speed on a few things. We had several irate people come in about our policy at the transfer station. This got a little out of hand at times. I tried to bring it back. I assured them that we are indeed looking at solutions to our problems, and they want to be assured that we're not going to let this fall by the way, which obviously we're not, if we're going to meet about scales, etc. And they seem to be amenable to raising the funds, the fees. Going forward, we got a lot of things to think about. But one of the problems that I mentioned to them was literally the capacity to handle the volumes that come in, which we have troubles with when we get trying to move dumpsters and get new ones in, people to haul the trash away, etc. They expressed their concerns that being taxpayers, they have the right in this and one thing or another, on and on and on, which you can see in the video. They're not incorrect. They're also not experiencing the difficulties that we are.
Well, and they're not actually correct on a lot of things.
A lot of them, but some of it, it's very
And I certainly
contentious.
didn't help the conversation out much,
No,
but it's primarily because two of the individuals that were here were only interested in their position.
right.
We're not interested in that kind of discussion, so there's really nothing you can do with that. But it doesn't cost $200 worth of maintenance on your truck to drive to Rochester.
No.
But that's a situation I can't.
There's not much you can do about it. No, not at all.
I don't know that increasing the rates is manageable with our current, and we've been trying that for over
Right.
2 years or 3 years now.
I'm
And it
thinking,
doesn't,
you know, I've thought $500 for a pickup load and $1,000 for a dump trailer. There. Now you can bring your stuff.
Well,
Are they gonna do it?
That's
They're,
certainly covered, but it's,
they don't want to, no, then,
those are throwing, darts at a dartboard and picking a
Right.
number. There's no science behind it.
well,
there can't be any science behind it. The only way we're gonna have science is with a set of scales.
scale.
I know.
So if we're gonna
But we
go,
can't do that right now, and they want right now.
we are
Anything else is
only,
subjective.
we are only going to run it by the numbers right now. That's all we can do. So if it costs us $30,000 to get rid of this stuff, we need to have collected $30,000.
Right.
And regardless of I'd like to remind the chair that there are only 3 people here
Yes.
complaining.
Yes.
There are 1,000 times more than that, people living here.
The phone calls that I've got would be more than that.
Well, I appreciate that, but,
Yeah.
you know,
I know.
they're benefiting. I mean, the problem I had with Mr. Ladd's premise is that he was more than willing to hire Casella's container and pay $9,000, but he's paying us $200.
Why not put it all in Casella's container? I don't know.
Yeah,
Get it.
or then we should be able to charge $9,000 at our facility if you're paying $9,000 to Casella.
Mhm.
You know, we need to be at market rate. At least, I question whether or not, the other individual is only charging 10% over what we're charging at the transfer station. And I don't really care because that's not, what he charges isn't a factor in what we end up having to pay.
Oh, no, certainly not.
And, you know, they feel as though they have a God-given right to take construction waste there. Well, I don't wanna have to pay for it. I don't think I should have to pay for it. If I bring my construction waste there in a pickup truck, I'll pay for that,
Mhm.
but,
The only thing that we're restricting is commercial haulage.
right,
If the homeowner does their own roof
right.
and brings their stuff in their pickup truck,
Yeah.
they can do that all
And
day
can-
long.
They can take this stuff out of this dump trailer and put it in a pickup truck.
And of course, if these guys end up doing a roof for an 80-year-old guy who can't bring his own stuff, that's where this comes in. They should have a dumpster if they can't haul it.
Right,
'Cause
or if they wanna put in a trailer, take it turnkey. Put it on the scale and pay the rate.
If we start manipulating numbers to try to make a profit, there's nothing objective. There's no justification for these numbers. And I'm very uncomfortable throwing out numbers to charge without having any basis for those numbers.
We don't have, well, we do in that we have cost.
Well, no, I'm talking about, I realize that, but I'm talking about how to charge. Because we're paying for by the pound to get rid of the stuff. We're collecting it by the volume. It's a guess. It's a best guess of how much is in that
Right.
pickup truck or
Right.
whatever. Nothing I can hang my hat on.
Right. So,
So how do you come up with a justified number for charging? You guess until you get it right?
that's
Until
why
the spreadsheet shows a positive?
it doesn't even have to show a positive, I'm just not gonna deal with a $25,000 negative. No, I mean, one solution would be to say, okay, the commercial operators wanna go in there, set up a commercial operator's sticker, fee, charge them, $1,000 or whatever you gotta charge them to make it work. But I don't think they'd be happy with that either. From what I heard this morning, they feel like we're making money on them and they don't like that.
One of the concerns was that there wasn't sufficient notice that it was going to happen.
Well, I would agree with that. We did just kind of dump it on them.
Yeah,
Well-
I say so too, but at the same time, we're under the gun.
Mm-hmm.
Things have to happen.
And they had time to give this week's notice.
Yeah.
So the problem I have is with Mr. Ladd's being there on Wednesday, dropping things off and not being informed that Saturday it stopped. So I agree with him that wasn't.
Yes,
well,
he had a valid point.
It was posted on the website and out here and on the table, a bunch of notices on Wednesday.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
These contractors don't come in here
Right.
and look at these kind of
I
things.
mean, we don't know where they go on the web, but probably not to the top of our website.
Right. And I don't know how you would get it out to them, give them reasonable notice.
And
I
nothing's
don't know how
gonna
that
be
would happen.
reasonable. I mean, the next time I get a roof job, I wanna drop my stuff off. So I'm not reasonably noticed until I'm in that position.
Well, I assured them that we are working on this. Nothing can happen quickly, but we're not just ignoring the situation.
And I've gotta go up there. We're not open Wednesday, are we? 'Cause no,
Why
Wednesday.
Yeah, you're open Wednesday.
I'm sorry, trying to figure out when the 4th of July is.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So I'll have a chat with Chris about,
Well-
if they wanna take 3 loads in a pickup truck, that's what it's gonna take.
But they've already said that that's not satisfactory. It takes too
Yeah,
much
I'm sorry.
time and too much effort, and
Well, fine.
Yeah, I know.
Then hire a dumpster and
they're just not willing to
stop talking. about it.
compromise.
I don't know, if they hire a dumpster, it doesn't cost them any trips. You just take it off the roof and throw it in the dumpster and they're done with it.
That- there is
Charge
another
the-
issue with that.
Charge the customer.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're gonna do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If we increase the rates to, with a scale, they're gonna have to charge the customer for
Mhm.
the weight. So,
Always.
it's,
So that brings us up to speed on public input.
alright, well, right.
We did talk with Steve Scapicchio. Did you come in on the end of that?
And on the end of it,
Okay.
but I wasn't there for,
If you read this book, a little letter there, it's quick. And obviously, we don't have any funding, and we wouldn't have any funding until sometime next
Yeah,
year.
we had this last week.
Yes, but we brought Steve in to talk about funding. Conservation Commission wouldn't be able to apply for any grants or anything until next year,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have any money in the budget. Now, they've given us the 60 days to come to a decision on this price, I would like permission to contact Mr. Carlton and let him know, or at least ask him, or tell him what's going on, that we would not have the funding even possibly before town meeting. And will this right of first refusal actually apply that far into the future, or do we have to do this immediately? What can we do with this? If we can't come up with the money immediately and they want to sell it to someone else, who will make me amenable, it's a tough situation.
Well, is the Conservation Commission interested in the property?
Yes,
Yeah.
very, very.
Because it borders Great Meadow, correct?
Yes, so to speak.
And my reading of that is that the buyer is willing to
Willing
give us a
to-
first
right.
refusal.
But I don't know who the buyer is. The only person I can contact is Mike Carlton.
No, I know, but, so it's not as if we have to worry about when Mike and the buyer
No,
make a deal.
No, the buyer's gonna buy it,
Right,
but,
the buyer's gonna buy it, and are we interested in getting a first refusal?
right,
of
but
15?
if I call Mike, he may be able to inform me
Oh,
who
no,
the buyer is.
absolutely.
I'd
No,
like
absolutely.
the board's permission
But I
to
don't
do
think-
that.
Yeah, I don't think, it should be an issue in their mind. I wouldn't think that it would take until March or April to get the money.
And,
It require a subdivision.
Yeah,
and what about appraisal? Should we have our assessor give us input
sure.
on the value?
Well,
I mean, Mike,
it's not a,
He
it's not a
presented us-
separate lot now,
no,
so.
but he presented us a price, $65,000. Where'd that come from?
Doesn't really matter where it came from, it's what we think it's worth.
Right,
Yeah.
so I
Well,
think,
yeah, no.
Doesn't matter what you get this price,
It's
it
what
can be
we're
anything.
willing to pay.
Right, this could be $65 million for
yeah,
all
but
I
if our
care.
assessor comes in and says it's a $20,000 piece of property, I don't wanna pay $65,000 for it.
Right. So how do we continue with this, boys?
Well, I think you're right, you have to talk to Carl and get the
Yep.
dates.
All right, so
We can run it by our assessor, or we can have, and it's a first right of refusal, it's not an obligation to buy.
right,
If we wanna go through the grant process, they'll tell us what they're gonna give us, and that's
Right.
based on its actual value. So, and we'll have any number of ways to establish the value, and if L-Chip and the other ones think it has a value of $65,000, but it's put in conjunction
I
with.
just don't wanna overpay for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing that comes along,
I'm not opposed to adding onto the footprint of the Great Meadows, but I certainly don't wanna overpay for it.
right. The other issue here that we talked about somewhat, Bob, was that a fellow's applied for a parking permit for our big trailer lot at the end of 19 Mile Bay.
Mm-hmm.
He owns 2 boat slips in the Pier 19 condominium complex, but he owns no property in Tuftonboro, other than that. He doesn't own island property. He's asked for 1 permit and 1 sticker, and the concerns that were brought to me are many, not necessarily just this one, but that people with island properties that rent their places out to 4 or 5 people at once, all those people will come in to get a parking sticker, and it floods everything, whereas they should have 1 that goes, etc. But this particular one, I don't see any problems with giving him this permit as long as he follows the requirements of the ordinance. And that is that if he has a boat trailer in that parking lot from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., etc., overnight, it has to be hooked to a vehicle. You can't just leave it there for the summer or whatever it may be. And that's one of those things that we have talked about. So I don't see any problem with issuing him this permit. He's just required to follow the ordinance.
And if he wants to leave a trailer for the summer, he does it at the recycling center.
Well, we've had issues with that too, because if they need to get their boat out of the water in a hurry and it's not open, they can't
We
even
don't
get it.
have any issues with it.
Well,
Yeah,
I
they-
think so
yeah,
they would have,
they do.
they would have issues
Our
with that.
person has-
Yeah.
But I think as long as he follows the ordinance, then we're perfectly acceptable to let him have it.
So he owns
Two
boat
boats.
slips.
Yep, and
Where's his island property? Is it
in Moultonboro.
in Moultonboro?
And he has 2 parking spots in what I'll call the Pier 19 parking lot, which part of that belongs to the condominium association. But,
And a post office box.
And if he owns boat slips, he's paying taxes to the town of Tufton Borough,
Yeah.
Yes,
so he's a taxpayer.
so I'd say, no problem,
No,
go ahead and issue it. Good, I'll take that to Jennifer, I guess she does that. Who issues these?
The parking lot?
Yeah,
We do. I do.
we do, you do. I guess you can call him and tell him he can have his,
He's gotta keep his car attached, or he's gotta put his trailer.
right, just follow the
Okay,
others.
so those are the two choices.
Yep,
I have no problem with that.
all right, next, anybody with selectmen's updates?
As I mentioned earlier, when Steve was in, I've talked to two different candidates that might take up the minutes program of the Conservation Commission, the Budget Committee, and this meeting. They want, the one who's most interested wants to go to a meeting and see what a conservation meeting to see what it really is gonna entail. These meetings are on YouTube, so it's pretty easy to figure out that. I'm hoping for the best. We've got budgeted 5 hours a week for conservation. I didn't look at the budget committee, but I'm sure it's another 5, so. And they're looking for part-time work.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah. And that's about it for me.
Yeah, I didn't have any meetings last week other than, what we talked about at the previous meeting. I've had communications with, people I'm supposed to communicate with.
Okay. Guess that's it for selectmen's updates. Now we go to other business. I notice we have Citizen Max Ledoux here. Do you have some other business you'd like to discuss, Max?
Yes. Hello, gentlemen. There seems to be, maybe you addressed this earlier, but I'm coming in because there's some confusion over the new no trailer policy at the transfer
We
station.
did discuss that for over half an hour.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
At least.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Well, then you don't need to repeat it. I can watch the video.
Yes, you can.
Sure.
Feel free to
Enjoy.
Feel free to adjourn the premises.
But maybe you could answer just as simply, for my benefit, yes or no. No trailers.
No.
So the only way that I get some of my trash to the dump is with a trailer. I don't have a pickup truck,
Right.
so I can't do that.
No, you can.
Oh,
It's the commercial dump trailers that we're coming in with
okay.
a roof full of shit.
All I care about is me.
I know that's true.
We're well aware of that. You should be fine.
And we'll clear that up with
Okay.
Chris.
And no need to rehash. I just wanted to
Nope,
double
just
check.
be advised that we're working on all of it, but the wheels of government turn slowly, and
Yeah.
it may be a while before we can get it all straightened out and make it amenable to everyone.
And it's the
You
commercial
should be-
haulers that,
Right, the commercials.
Yeah.
And it's
not
not household waste.
you. Right.
It's what?
Not household waste. It's C&D. That's the issue we have.
construction and demolition.
Construction.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Construction
I mean,
and demolition is running about a $25,000 deficit right now.
yeah. And I remember that this has been an issue for years.
It
so
has
I'm-
been.
Yeah.
So it's so if
Yeah.
you're not gonna reshingle your house till the metal wears out, but
Yeah.
if you need to reshingle your house,
Okay.
you need to haul it away in a pickup truck or take it to turnkey.
Okay. And brush? I do
Oh,
dump
brush is brush.
What's his, it's
C&D.
Just C&D.
C&D
Yes.
is the issue.
All right. Well, I got no problem here.
Good.
So thanks sorry to make you repeat that.
That's not a problem.
Keep
All
up
right.
the good work. Oh, can you do something about the rain? Come on. Enough with the rain.
And you're
Right.
okay with the stop signs?
Oh, I love the stop signs.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a resident we can talk.
Yeah.
Good, yeah.
No, they're very, very visible. I always stopped anyway, but
Right.
I don't know.
All right.
Instead of the other people stopping.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good. Thanks.
All right.
See you
You're
later.
welcome.
Thanks, Max.
Happy Independence Day.
You
Thank
too.
I drove to work in the fog the other morning, and I could see the red glow a mile away.
Awesome.
So if there's no other business, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm told there's a luncheon thing here for